It's Flip City Magazine, The Parodies, Special Edition, with savage send-ups of The Walking Dead, Star Trek Picard, Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, Guardians of the Galaxy, and more from the first 4 years of Flip City. Get Flip City The Parodies free when you subscribe in print at flipcitymag.com. The world's best satire magazine, and never, ever woke.
The Madness Comic Network and comic-related madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
It's Tuesday. What are you doing? Where's your coffee? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody in the chat. Glenn Fleming, you make me laugh every time. I love it. It makes me laugh. I hope y'all are having a good day. It is freezing in Texas. I'm freezing my butt off. It's been in the 20s. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. We got about 6 inches of snow last week. Thursday and then Friday, we had no school. So it's like we had winter break. They went back to school on Tuesday, had school on Tuesday, school on Wednesday, and then was off for another 4 days. And it was like, man, can these kids go back to school? Please. Anyways, I love them. They just were driving each other crazy. It's crazy. It's been one of those. Did not get a notification for the Madness version. Dun, 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 dun. No good. Hey, you guys know, right? You know, but are you signed up? Are you signed up for notification for this bad boy? Because this is launching soon. Cold snow in Texas. We're doomed. Yes. Good morning, Levi. Good morning. I just want to remind you guys, this way, that Path of the Pale Rider issue number 6 is coming. Oh my gosh. Which means we're going to be about halfway through the first arc, which is incredible. And now our little sense of humor. It's like at first you want to like set the tone to be professional. Everybody know you mean business, and that it's like it's horror, it's apocalypse, it's Western. But now like is our time to like start being funny. So we got a little parody here with Shaun of the Dead, all the zombie hands in the background. Jude is super funny. I'm going to be doing some more videos with a character, not Ellie. We're going to do Dwayne. We're going to do Deep Thoughts with Dwayne Fink. So I'm working on those. So you'll see those coming out during the campaign. But yeah, it's looking sharp. The campaign is just about done. I'm waiting for the first 4 interior pages of issue 6. And then everything will be here. So you've seen the gorgeous covers that we have coming. William Russell did the Big James and then the hot sauce zombies because he's wearing heart-stopping jalapeno shirt. And then, of course, everybody's favorite undead dog, Sad Pancake. So I just wanted to show you guys, too, this is a cool option. We're going to have sketch covers, but you can also sign up to have Gilbert draw one for you. with the characters from POTPR that you want. So he's done some really cool stuff. Hey, Tommy. By the way, congratulations, Tom. This is Tom Halls. Great podcaster, awesome creator. Has this great comic called Kingsville. I follow it. And he just got funded for issues 1 through 3. So congratulations. I got the catch-up tier. I'm looking forward to getting physical for all of them. I forget which covers I got, but I'm sure I got the fancy ones. We got all sorts of t-shirts and hoodies coming. Like, it just cracks me up because a lot of times I put all this stuff on the campaign. You're welcome, bud. Love ya. And then people are like, what are my options for t-shirts? And I'm like, it's there. You put it all there and still, that's okay. So I made a GIF. A ton of stuff is there. We got a few new designs, actually. The blue one, the red one, and then there's a black one. And I don't think I made this one available last time. I have a sweatshirt with the divide, but I don't think anybody else does. Maybe Rachel, and that's it. So there's a ton of options. I'm going to be making this one pretty soon. I need another hoodie because it's so freaking cold. Wooden covers. We got all sorts of that cool stuff. And don't forget, you can get Choose Your Own Adventure books, hot sauce, poker cards, the whole shebang. So this, again, is going to be kicking off on February 1st. February 1st. It's crazy. I would show you my video, but the internet hates the music. And we get flagged every time, and I don't want to get flagged. So it'll be up shortly, and then you can watch it. It's a super cool video. I've spent a ton of time on it. But you should watch it when it launches. Enough about me. Let's bring our guest. I like talking about Path, but I don't like talking about myself all the time. So let's talk about some nerdy stuff. This is my guest. You know him. This is Chris Roberts. Actually, he had a little cameo on another show we did with Miss Lauren Roberts. And I think you came into the camera for like a few minutes. So he's technically been on the show, but as a cameo.
Yeah, a second timer.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, oh, this is old hat. I've been around the block. How have you been, Chris? Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah. We were talking before the show. He is in the basement freezing. You wearing 2 pairs of socks?
No, not 2 pairs of socks, but I'm wearing a vest over a sweatshirt to stay warm because I chose not to turn on the space heater for you because that way your listening audience wouldn't have to hear the quiet hum of me trying to stay not dead. So
the whirring in the background to increase your circulation. Gosh, terrible. Exactly. Well, you and I met in a kind of roundabout way. Chris runs a podcast called Movie Smash, as you can see next to his name, which is oddly about movies.
It was very hard coming up with that name, yeah.
Was it? Okay. Well, it's like you have to just think of something unique. Nobody else can have it, but it needs to be related, but it can't be like too simple. You know what I mean? Like there is some thought that goes into that.
Yeah, we actually ran the sort of backstory of the name. We actually ran a contest through my other business, Off Panel Creations, where I have a much bigger following base over there, and I reached out to them and had them sort of come up with some names. I ran a contest, gave some free stuff, and that's the best they came up with. And it's Hulk inspired. One of my co-hosts, Jeremy, is a huge fan of the Hulk, so his vote was solidly in the case of Movie Smash. But
so instead of Hulk Smash, it's Movie Smash.
Exactly. And and it was just really the audience of my other business. Those are the people who came up with the name for this podcast.
Oh. See, I love audience participation. My fans name things too, but usually I end up destroying them because that's how we roll. So we met because I can't remember. Was it who gave you my information, or did I reach out to you?
I got your.
Was it Fergal?
I can look it up. No, Fergal didn't, because that's actually the funny thing is Fergal did not give me your information, and
that's
I got
so sad.
From no, I got it from somebody else. I'm trying to remember who gave it to me. Oh, I think it was Jeffrey Cotton. Had given it to me. Okay. And I reached out to you, and then come to find out after I had you booked and ready for the show, we had you lined up. Fergal, like the day beforehand, goes, "Wait, I know Laurie."
It's like I've been to Michigan and been in his store. Like, he's been on the show. Yeah, he's a good friend.
And actually, even funnier to that was that, because for those who don't know, Fergal is one of our co-hosts on the Movie Smash show. He had actually given me a copy of your book before I knew who you were when I came to visit a store for sometime in Michigan. So I have a copy of your book signed by you somewhere.
That's
and
funny.
Never had met you, had no idea who you were. He just said, "No, she's gonna be huge. Let me give you a copy of her book." And then the show started. We brought you on. We had been I think the show had been going on for just over a year or so by the time we had you on.
Gotcha. Oh, well, and I mean, like, he had some personal stuff going on, lots of it. So it's not like, you would think that way either. Laurie will destroy to refuel on the tears of her readers. Lou, this is accurate. You know what? I'm terrible. I was supposed to drop the link when I was talking about my campaign, and I didn't. So here it is. I put it in the wrong place again. I'm really challenged with these buttons this morning. I don't know if you guys noticed. I think I need to drink more coffee. More coffee or less coffee, one or the other. Here's the link.
I'm on my 4th cup today, so.
Are you?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah. I was like, well, you're in a different time zone. You're ahead of me, so you had an hour start. But I'm like, man, I need some catching up. So here's the link to sign up for issues 1 through 6, just in case you haven't. So okay, so then you guys have like, what am I gonna call it? There's a whole entrance process onto Movie Smash where it's like you get an email, and how many movies were on that email? It had to be like 100.
Oh, it's more than that. I think currently in the unselected category, it's like 390 movies I put on that list. Yeah, these are all been pre-screened by us that qualify. So for those who, I probably some in your audience may have been on our show too, we tend to have on the show guests who are comic book creators, or they could be writers, artists. We've had on people who are in the film industry, directors, actors, to come on. And basically what we do is we don't like the traditional interview process, because those are done 1,000 times. Here I am on an interview right now. And we send out to our listeners.
Ours is different. I usually keep it fresh.
That's very true. You didn't send me the questions in advance, so I don't know what you're going to ask me.
No, that's the whole point.
And we send you out a list of about 300 plus movies and say, pick 5 from here. And then the guests will pick 5, and then the team over here at Movie Smash will go through that list and take a look at what's available, what can we stream. We don't make something easy, but also timeliness of it. We'll pick from there, and then as a group, we all watch the movie individually, come together and discuss the movie. Where you can also talk about your projects you're working on, that kind of stuff. But it highlights you as a creator in a very different sort of light than just your standard interview where you're talking about whatever project you've got going on. And we spend about 45 minutes to an hour just either loving the movie or hating it. It doesn't really matter. We've had some stinkers on that show. We've had some great ones too.
And it was Christian.
Christian Douglas was on the show.
Thank you. Because he was going on, and what movie did he pick? And I was like, you're kidding me. He picked that?
Yeah, he picked Ghost in the Shell.
Okay, but not the anime one, the Scarlett Johansson one, everybody. And I was like, wait, what? Why would he pick that? And you were like, well, he doesn't really like it. I'm like, oh, okay. So it doesn't have to be a movie you like. It can be something that you really dislike. You just want to go talk about it.
Oh, we had a guest on recently who picked Bloodshot, the Vin Diesel movie that came out a few years ago.
Kevin. I sent him your way.
Yeah, Kevin. And he picked it because, as he said in the episode, he experienced trauma watching this movie. He needed to share that trauma with other people because it was so bad. And he was not wrong. I had never seen that movie, and it was horrendous. They should never have made that movie.
I was going to say, I don't think I saw it. Is it based off of a video game?
It's based off the comic book Bloodshot.
Oh, there is a comic book. So they butchered it? They
butchered it. Well, what I recommend, if you really are curious, just go watch the trailer. It tells you the entire plot of the movie. There's no need to waste 108 minutes of your life. Just
watch 2 minutes. You're good. 2
minutes and get it over with. And that's the thing about the show, too, is every movie that's in the show is based upon the original source material is a comic book or graphic novel.
Gotcha.
No, it can't be a movie. Then there was a comic book. The comic book had to have come first. So we do talk about how true it is to the comic or the graphic novel. So because we do anime occasionally.
That's incredible. There's 300 of those on the list that were all graphic novels and comics. See, people, it happens.
Yeah, and some are ones you didn't expect. Like you did the movie Atomic Blonde with us.
Yeah.
Which most people didn't realize at the time that was a comic book.
Yeah, I didn't. And it's great because Fergal is like, oh, I had to go out and buy this one. So he read it and then was able to compare it to the movie. And I was like, that's awesome. Now I want to go get that too. Of course, I don't have time. I don't have time for anything. It's great.
Yeah, on the show, the three hosts are myself. I'm sort of the cinemaphile. You
Yeah.
got Fergal, who's sort of a comic book historian, and
Comic.
Jeremy is sort of a everyday man.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
worked in a store once. He reads on occasion, and he tours the country in his band. So he's sort of like, I'm an everyday person who just happens to read this book.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's cool. I liked him too. You guys, that was one of the best interviews. It was so fun and funny. I don't think I laughed that hard all week. That was the best. You know what I mean? And just it was nice to see Fergal too. I haven't seen him, since I was in Michigan. So that was just an added bonus. It was nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we talked about Atomic Blonde, which I love, because the martial arts and like the story and I love that movie. The music was spot on. Like we had a blast. Just
Well, I'm glad you picked it too, because I've been trying to get the guys to watch that movie for years.
Yeah.
It's been on my list. I got the steelbook version of it. I loved it. I think I was telling you during the episode, it reminded me of my time when I lived in Germany. Because I lived in Germany before the wall fell down. For a younger audience, there used to be two Germanys. I was there in West Germany, so it's good to sort of get that feeling again. So I just love that movie. And I'm also a Charlize Theron fan.
I mean, who isn't? She's incredible.
She is fantastic.
She is
The best part is
fantastic.
a lot of her movies are her own productions. Like she just does these things because she likes the stories. She's trying. She hires the people she knows. It's not quite indie, but it feels like a mainstream version of indie productions.
Yeah, it does. Well, yeah. I mean, if she's paying for most of it.
Yeah, like another one she
Yeah.
was recently was Old Guard. Was another
Love
one she
that
did.
one. Yeah. There was there was some plot holes, but for the most part, it was done well.
Yeah, for what it
The
was.
action was
I like
good.
the concept, and they're going to make a second one too. So
Finally, we've
I
been
know.
waiting on that one. No, the writer's strike kind of messed everything up for a while.
It did.
I feel like we still haven't fully recovered from that. Honestly,
Yeah, I think a lot of it sort of backed the pipeline up for a lot of these movies.
yeah, like
Even
it was in
now,
the works, and the good writers that were attached, all like, we're hands off right now, and so it just all slowed down. So we got a bunch of stuff in, and then it was a bunch of garbage. I feel like we're still in the garbage mode, and then maybe some of the good stuff will trickle through at some point.
yeah, the straight to Netflix stuff or the stuff made in another country where there was no writer's strike.
Yeah, gosh.
Like there was a John Cena movie that came out during that time period that was just terrible. Don't look for it. Just don't look for it. I watched the bad ones so you guys don't have to.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Kevin Davis is that way too. He's one that will go watch a movie just to say that he did it. And he'll tell us like it was terrible. So I'm like, okay, I have like this much time to see movies, so I rely on other people's opinions of because I don't have the time to go see 4 movies. Tell me which one of those is good. You know what I mean? That I can go see with my hubby on a date night, and the kids are at grandma's, and we can just go see whatever movie we want. We don't have to go see Wild Robot.
Yeah, we actually just dropped the episode for the Punisher, 2004's Punisher today.
The movie?
The movie, yeah. Our episode on that one just came out. With, so feel free to check that one out. We actually just recorded last night, 1966 Batman. So we are all over the map with these movies.
That's funny. Those two back to back is kind of a weird combo. But I mean, yeah, hit everything, right?
Yeah, well, we try to mix it up. Like I said, we try to make sure like there are no 2 Batman movies next to each other. There's no 2 DC movies next to each other. Yeah, we're all over the place just because for me, it's a good excuse to go watch movies.
Heck yeah, man. But that's not all you do.
No, that's probably like 10% of what I do.
10%. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Chris and I were talking, and I was like, okay, these are, the things I want to kind of talk about. And he sent me a list of other things. I was like, what?
Yeah, I sent you like the bullet points for my wife and my kids of things that you might find interesting about me.
I just want to, can I read these out loud? Okay.
Whichever one you want to talk about, it's free game.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to read them out loud. Okay. And if you're in the chat and one of these picks your fancy, you let me know. I'm going to pick one too. So if you guys don't chime in, I'm going to pick some, but obviously you guys chime in. So first one was how I got into comics. Second one was axe in the leg, and then ran a marathon after removing my own stitches. I was like, you followed how I get into comics with an axe in the leg.
Yeah,
And
that
then,
medal's right behind me, by the way.
and then it was brain tumor during COVID. I was like,
Mhm.
oh shit. And then hiking the Smokies with Hurricane Florence rolling in. Also like WTF. And then before the tumor, I was an avid runner where there was even a year I did 31 races, 18 cities in 2 countries. Holy crap. You should be friends with Edward Davis. He's also a runner. You would probably get along real good with him. But yeah. Hey, good morning, Dustin. Good morning, Ronan TV. Good morning. But yeah, if you guys are interested in any one of those things, the first thing I'm going to ask about is the axe in the leg. I
Okay.
need to know more, please.
No problem. And believe me, I'm not just a guy full of stories. I also, had the furniture company and
Right, and we're going to
editing
talk about that too.
Okay.
I want to show off some of the cool things that you do, but I'm afraid
Okay.
that once we go there, that's it. Like that's where
Okay.
we're going to
Okay.
get stuck.
So axe in the leg. Actually, that was during, I think it was 20, that would have been 2018, I think, 2019. So I had I used to chop my own wood for firewood, that kind of thing. And it was just a bad piece of wood, and the axe went right through it and right into my leg, into my right shin. And so
To your shin.
yeah,
In the
and
bone?
I'm not a big panicky guy. So essentially I just hobble my way up the flight of stairs to go inside. My oldest was on a conference call with her grandmother, and I sort of walked behind her, saying like, hey, can you finish your call? I'm gonna need you for a second. Because I was the only one home with the kids. Went upstairs, bandaged it up as much as I could. Uh, the Then I got all the kids in the car, drove myself to the hospital. This is my right leg, so that was really painful with the gas. Drive all the way to the hospital, and my kids still laugh at this day because I have all 3 kids with me, and I walk up to the counter and I'm like, "Hey, I took an axe to the leg, so I think I need to see somebody." And she didn't believe me at first till I walked around the counter to show the bloody bloody leg. But anyway, they put some stitches in me. I think it was like 14 or 15 stitches, and I had a race lined up for, I think it was 3 weeks from then, 2 weeks from then.
Yeah.
And that was my peak running. So I was like, I can't miss a race. I've done races. I did a full marathon on a high ankle sprain once. Like I can't miss it for an axe. And
Oh my
so
God.
I completely forgot about that story too. But so no, she bandaged me up. I was like, when will I be recovered? She goes, probably the earliest would be like a month, maybe 3 weeks. And I said,
You're
well,
like,
okay,
I'm
that's
not
not
having it.
good. That's not happening. So left, go home, did everything he told me to do, took care of it. And then I had a conference I was going to in Arizona because I timed it. I had this conference in Arizona, and I was going to run a half marathon in the Grand Canyon right after the conference. So the day before flying out for the conference, I went to urgent care and said, hey, can you remove my stitches? And she's like, no, I cannot remove your stitches. They're still there. And I was like, well, I got this race to run. She goes, okay, well, here's all the tools to remove your own stitches. You can go on YouTube and watch a video on how to do it, but do that like the Friday before the race. I was like, okay. So went to the conference, did the conference limping around like an idiot. And then I even ran a 5-miler while at the conference just to test the leg out a little bit. So last day of the conference, I sat down, removed all my stitches with the toolkit that the doctor gave me, and went through it all. Then ran a 5K the day before the half marathon just to like test it out, make sure the stitches didn't open up on me or something. And then ran a half marathon in the Grand Canyon for its.
In the Grand Canyon.
Oh yeah, you run down a little bit, run back up, 13 miles round trip inside the Grand Canyon,
Ew.
which is one thing. And then shortly
13
after,
miles. I'm out.
yeah, well, and after that too, like it was these what they call vacation races is a package you do, and you actually go do hikes afterwards. There were 3 hikes I had to hit. So it was a total about 30 miles in about 2 days that I did after having taken an axe to the leg. But yeah,
Okay. Well,
that's a short version of the story.
it's one of those, like, if you end up in an apocalypse with the slow moving zombies, you are okay as
Yeah.
long as you can keep moving. The rest of us don't have the stamina, right? So as long as you can outrun, like me, well, I have skills too, but it's not that. But as long as you can keep running, you should be fine. It's one of those. Yeah.
But that's
So
one of the stories my kids love to tell their friends. So
took an axe. This is like reason 555 why women live longer than men as well.
probably a good reason.
Pretty sure none of us have ever said, took an axe to the leg, took out my own stitches, and then ran for 13 miles in the Grand Canyon. No, that's never
Well,
happened.
it had to be done. There was a nice shiny
It
metal.
had to be done.
There's a nice shiny metal that had to be that I had to pick up. So
Oh my gosh.
it's one of the ones on the wall behind me somewhere.
Yeah, do you see all the medals on that wall? Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I
Yeah, it's
mean, that's a good hobby to have, I guess. At least it
yeah,
keeps you healthy.
it's a previous life for me. I haven't done a race since the brain tumor actually, so it's been a long
Yeah.
time.
Well, then how did you find the brain tumor? Like, what did
So before my life of this, I was actually in finance and I was an
uh,
executive with a financial services firm. And what happened was I was messing up some speeches, getting more irritable. Went to go see the doctor about it. Just I had no idea what was going on. And after about 2 months of investigation, discovered my cortisol levels had been higher than normal. You know, you sort of your fight or flight enzymes or whatever it's called. Anyway, they found that was wrong. They started doing some brain scans, and after about 6 or 7 MRIs, they discovered this brain
6
tumor.
or 7?
Yeah, I feel like I had a punch card, like one more, and I would
God.
have gotten one free. But they discovered a brain tumor. It was producing cortisol. It was staying right above my pituitary. I was actually losing vision in my left eye. We discovered that when I do these various tests because it's like slow, so I didn't notice it until they did the actual test of your vision. I was
Hmm.
getting these headaches, but anyway, discovered it, and then we were about to go into. We set up the surgeries. You know, everything was lined up, and short. I forgot to say this as well, but they also discovered that time my thyroid had been growing. What's called a multinodule goiter, but essentially it was crushing about a third of my windpipe at the same time, which was messing up my running. Obviously, I couldn't breathe. So
Good
yeah,
God,
all this fun
Chris.
stuff. And they said, okay, we're gonna go in for surgery. We're gonna line this stuff up. We're gonna go thyroid first, then brain tumor. You know, and they set up the surgery. Then COVID happened, and they're like, we're gonna postpone your surgeries until COVID passes. It's just gonna be like a couple weeks, and then
Famous last words, right? Where they're
exactly,
like, it's a 2-week lockdown, just 2 weeks. My husband still works from home 5 years later, right? I mean,
exactly. So then they keep postponing it. We keep getting calls. They're going to reschedule post because it was considered because of one, it's crossing the brain, it's invading the brain. They don't want to risk anything, and two, it's considered a non what was it? How they put it? Like a non-lethal condition, meaning that it was going to take about 10 years to kill me, but it wasn't going to kill me today. So it was okay if we postponed by a few months. Who cares about the headaches, that kind of thing? Anyway, so eventually during COVID, there was a point where it was like a Saturday or a Sunday where I just woke up in the worst pain of my life. It was about like
yep,
a
nope,
9 out of 10.
that's it.
And
It's time to go.
we went to urgent care. They tried giving me medication that didn't work. I eventually talked to my endocrinologist. Gave me a bunch of medication to take. Nothing stopped it. And then it went off to go to the emergency room where he actually called in advance. They put me through another CAT scan at that point. Come to find out, the tumor had infarcted, and what that means is my body cut off the blood flow to the tumor, and the tumor is effectively bleeding out into my skull. So the short,
Ooh,
it sounds brutal, but at the end of the day, it was a good thing because essentially my body had killed the tumor, and
yeah.
to this day, I get annual checkups, but it's gone. So this
You never had surgery?
never had the surgery, but my body took care
Wow,
of it on its own.
that's a miracle.
But the amount of pain for that week, it's a level of pain I wouldn't want to wish on somebody. But if you had a brain tumor, it's better than brain surgery. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd probably go through the pain for 1 week
yeah,
and not have to have them open my skull.
yeah. Which
Wow.
that actually is what caused me to end my running career, though, because the cortisol. I don't even know much about it. Really, what it does, it
Mm.
sort of loosens the joints up. It's your fight or flight sort of reaction to things. So I was basically
Yeah,
running on this extra level of cortisol for 2 or 3 years and was unaware of it. So all my joints had been sort of burnt out. I was just
ooh,
doing damage to them because I couldn't feel it.
right?
And when that all pulled back, all my muscles seized up and actually moved my kneecaps off where the positions, and had to go through physical therapy for 6 months to them sort of work their way back. So by then, like I had not been running for a long time, and it's still hard on the knees to go for a run. So that is just a
Ah,
memory of what I used to do.
I mean, yeah,
And you
it's
can
still
laugh about it.
bragging
I laugh
rights.
about it
Look
all
at
the
all
time.
of them. That's incredible, but still, it's like, yeah, I know. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't risk it. It's like you could really hurt yourself.
But yeah, it is life.
That is life.
There
I
are
mean,
worse
the only
things.
yeah, and I feel like the only thing that's constant in life is change.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like I used to be a musician, I used to play music every day, and I don't do that now. So it's like, but I bake bread though.
You
So
bake a lot of bread. I've seen the pictures and the
oh,
pierogies.
yes. Oh, good morning. Good morning, Josh. All right. So where did that leave us in that list of crazy things in your life?
Yeah.
That went to hold, please. Going down.
I mean, I
Brain
was in a
tumor
plane
during
crash
COVID.
when I was a year old.
You were what?
I was in a plane crash when I was a year
You
old.
were in a plane crash?
Yeah,
Are
we were
you?
flying. We were flying from Massachusetts to Germany. We were first moving over there, and the landing gear failed to come out on the plane. So they actually had to belly flop it onto the runway, filled with foam and that kind of thing. That's the start of my life.
Oh my gosh. Josh, what are we talking about? I'd like to introduce you to Chris Roberts, the most interesting man in the world, who has gone through a lot of things, including an axe to his own leg, a brain tumor that resolved itself, and the plane crash. He also hosts a podcast and makes nerdy furniture, but those are less interesting. Just kidding. Um, so where we left off on the list is hiking the Smokies with the hurricane rolling in. You
Yeah.
were
So
in the mountains and just watching the hurricane come in.
yeah. So what happened
That's
there was
scary.
I had just run the Smoky Mountain half marathon the day before. And
Yeah.
it was that same package where I had to go hike certain things, and they warned us that the hurricane was coming in and they might shut the park down. So if you need to get these hikes, get them done quickly. So me being the idiot that I was,
They
I
know how avid their hikers are because most places would be like, "Hey, go after the hurricane is through." But they're like, "If you're going to go now. You have about 25 minutes."
That's basically what it was. Like you have 24 hours before they're going to announce if they're going to close the park or not. So I went out there, went out hiking, trying to hit as many trails as I could that qualified for it. And essentially, what happened was, by on the return back to it, yeah, I saw the thing about the wildfires. On the return back to it, my battery had been dying. It took longer than I expected it would to take because 3 trails in a single day. Night was coming in, and I lost my flashlight was dead. I was essentially walking this trail that I only walked once before, like on the way in, trying to navigate a small wooden bridge and all this, and then come to realize I'm about a mile out from the car, and I can see the storm coming across across the horizon. You can hear it because in the Smokies, that's those storms like hover, and you can see the lightning. And I had completely not checking the weather. I'd forgotten the hurricane was coming this far inland. So by the time I got to my car, like I literally got back to my car, and that's when the rains opened up and just started flooded out the trails. And it was like I'm leaving, and the gates were already closed. Like they're like, you aren't supposed to be in here.
You're like, I know, I'm leaving right now. Just let me out. Oh, you're from New Mexico. I didn't know that, Josh. Is it cold there? Someone was saying that it gets cold in New Mexico, and I didn't believe them. They were like, yeah, I have to buy some winter gear because we're going to New Mexico. Is it cold in New Mexico?
That depends where you live, I guess.
So after you got out, were you able to get to safety as the hurricane's coming in?
Yeah, I was able to drive through the park and get to where I forgot to mention that I mentioned my flashlight died while I was hiking.
Yeah.
So I actually took my cell phone, turned the camera on, the light on the cell phone, and strapped it to my chest. Just give me a little bit of light to walk those last bits. And that's kind of surreal because it sort of bounces around as you're walking. It's not really designed for that. But yeah, I got out of the park right when the storm had hit while I was driving home. But I was able to catch a flight out the next day because the airlines were like, yeah, get everyone out of that area. I didn't realize how bad it was going to be.
Oh my gosh.
Check the weather before you go hiking.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. Or before you travel, before you go outside and drive your car.
Yeah, exactly.
Just check the weather every day. You should do it. You're an adult.
Moment of the day.
What was I going to say? I forgot now. I was going to say about hiking. I lost it. On to the next question. So how many medals do you say you have behind you? Because in the thing that you sent, you said you ran 31 races in 1 year, 18 cities and 2 countries. Which 2 countries too?
Canada, U.S. So no, I had to count the U.S.
Where
I
in
was
US,
here.
right.
So I hit Vancouver and Montreal that 1 year while I was racing.
I was wondering if Lauren was in the chat. She's like, yeah, I wasn't a fan. This is Lauren Roberts, who was also on the show and is an author, novelist, and the better half of Chris. Yeah. Yes. Hi, Lauren.
Yeah, that year it's funny, she says not a fan of it. She actually was part of the planning of it the year before. Because we jokingly looked at there's a series called the Rock and Roll Races. And we looked at it like, there's an award. You can see it sort of on the wall behind me over there. No, sorry, there.
Mhm.
There's like a record player looking medal that's over there,
Yeah.
and you get that for hitting 10 of their races in a single year. And I'm like, and it was one price, is pretty cheap. Like I could do that. I could hit 10 of their races. But of course, when you do that, you're like, well, if I'm doing 10, I might as well do 12. If I'm doing
Ooh,
12, might as well do 14. And
ooh.
then it became like, because they're always like, if you do these 3 races, there's an extra medal and all this sort of stuff. And the collector mentality was there for me. So I was racing around everywhere, like, well, if I hit these 3 races, I get this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just sort of, it blew up. I was, because I wasn't made of money. So I was actually reaching out to people I kind of knew that I met through various things in those areas. Like I didn't know anyone in Vancouver. And I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Hey, I'm traveling for races. If any, I literally put this on the internet, just like if anyone wants to have me crash on their couch, let
Oh
me
my
know.
gosh.
So I did the whole thing, traveled around the country and slept on more couches than I care to remember, and met a ton of great people in the process. But I was sleeping on couches. I was sleeping in like random motels for an evening. Like Montreal, I literally came in,
So
stayed at a place,
so
hit
this
the
is why. Because
yeah,
Lauren
hit.
was like, I'm never gonna see him again. He's just gonna get
I'm gonna get killed.
yeah.
I hit a race and then I ran off to what's called hit like did the race in the morning. It was a 5K followed by a full marathon in Montreal. So flew in, ran the 5K, ran the marathon, got back to the place where I was staying, showered, and got on a plane like same day.
Wow. You
Just
just
because I
crashed
was
on the
just
plane?
yeah, because I had work on Monday. I didn't have
Oh
time
my
to wait. Like this
god.
is I wasn't wasting vacation days to do this for this little sort of
Yeah.
adventure, if you would. The that's basically what it all came down to.
Josh, you
So
really want to talk about California, huh?
more impressive than me.
I mean, it's on fire. We
Yeah,
all know it,
I
but
know.
it's really unfortunate, and a lot of people are losing property. So I hope they get it under control soon. The reality of being home by myself with 3 small kids while he traveled that much was not something I had anticipated. Yeah, didn't you? I. So he's insane. Yes.
Yeah, I'm insane.
Yeah.
But on the
Don't
wall
like that
behind me is
name.
about 210 medals. I think I just looked it up. I've got a
Yeah.
spreadsheet with
Yeah.
all the
Okay.
information.
You got a spreadsheet? That's awesome.
I have spreadsheets on everything. I'm a data guy, so it's keeping track of my times, my cities, my all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. All right. So financial guy,
Mhm.
you said comics. You're in comics?
No. Like I mean, getting into comics as in like
Getting
reading
into
them.
comics.
Yeah, I didn't read comics when I was a kid.
Neither
The
did
way I
I.
got
Yeah.
into it was my sister was an avid collector. She was my
That's
younger
cool.
sister, 4 years younger. Actually lived down in Texas, down in San
Hey,
Antonio,
am
and
I
had
your
this.
sister? No, just kidding.
No, secretly you're my sister. That's why I'm on the show.
Secretly.
Had this massive at least at the time I thought it was a massive collection. It's about 5,000, 6,000 books. And
It's
then she
super big.
passed away from cancer in 2018.
Oh,
And I flew down there, helped my parents. My parents are, long since retired. So I went down there, helped. I had to empty out her apartment, took care of all the stuff. And she had this massive collection that we didn't know what to do with. So I shipped it back here to Virginia. And it just sat in my basement, like a bunch of long boxes in my basement, one flood away from being ruined.
yeah.
And I was like, what?
Hey, Ray.
And I was like, well, let me see what this is all about. I always like Batman. I like the Batman animated series. I like Batman the movies, but I was
Yes.
never really a reader. So I started reading through her comics, got interested in them, and sort of picking up a few things I was reading for myself. But then that led me to seeing this in the basement, saying to myself, there's got to be a better way to store this stuff. And looking around the market, there really wasn't. I mean, you could buy boxes, put them on shelving, but in my opinion, it didn't do it justice because this was
Right.
her hobby, her passion, right?
Her passion. Yeah.
And it didn't, and it felt like a shame to have it just in these white long boxes on a metal shelf. And it's like, it's for her lifelong passion, that'd just be like store in the closet and forgetting about it. So I started
That's sad.
building.
That's kind of the norm, though. Isn't that weird? That's what
It
we do
is,
with them.
and
There's
and
got to be
so
a better way.
I started building cabinets just to store her books. And I've done some woodworking over the years. My grandfather was a woodworker, so I started building some little cabinets, ways to storage solutions rather. And
Hmm.
I'm looking at them right now. They're all in this room with me. By the fourth one, I had built a prototype that I liked, and I showed it around the internet. Like people like, hey, look what I built, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then someone says, hey, can you build me one? And I was like, I guess I
Yes.
can. I guess I can build you one. At that point, the reason I came up was I had just left my job in the finance world. I had just had enough of it, and I just left. I didn't have a job lined up. I was like, I'm just taking a break. I quit the job, left, And so I had some time. So I built this cabinet for a guy, and then someone else said, "Can you build me one?" And then I established a company to build comic book cabinets.
I'm gonna
And
show off this stuff. You keep talking, but I
oh,
mean, like,
sure. And it also does,
um,
like, game board tables, because once you're in the one nerdy thing, you're in a ton of nerdy things, right?
right. I know. I mean, like, we look at this as at a first glance, and we're like, "This is a table and chairs. This is a
Mhm.
dining room table. This is what you get at Ethan Allen," right? It is not, people. Look, there's so many cool things. Let me go through the gallery. Hi, William. Good morning. I hope you're feeling better, sir. I know you weren't feeling
And I
well.
haven't updated that gallery in quite some time. I need to
That's all
do that.
right. We're gonna look anyway. What's this? It's so
That is
shiny.
the edge of a piece, which the bigger picture's not there. I could probably send them to you. Someone wanted their piece to have an Art Deco look to it. So
Ah,
you see the waterfall front. That's a walnut
yeah.
piece. That's all walnut. So that's my neighbor who wanted me to refinish their cherry table. That was an easy one.
This is cool. See,
That Oh, go ahead.
and I was just gonna say, I was looking into something for myself. When we were talking before the show, I was like, one of my things I need to do is move my whole office, and I need to redo the guest bedroom. One thing I don't do is show off my comics. I would like to do something like this, where it's like it can have panes, or maybe I just put it on the wall. But I don't show off my hard work. It's for all of us comic creators who come up with an idea and follow through that whole process, we have incredible things that we've plucked out of the air and made concrete. I want to show them off, but I don't. They're in a box,
It is what
right?
happened. And so, like, that piece right there, that's actually up in that's in Brooklyn, I think. And he's a big Batman fan. And I'm not sure if you're gonna
Yeah.
see the top of it or not, but that's a red oak, but I ebonized the wood. So I actually took comic book ink and applied it to the wood to make it that black. And then I buffed it out, shined it, put lacquer on it. So it's called ebonizing, but I actually use traditional comic book ink from like the 50s to make it look like that.
That's badass.
So yeah, that's the
Mm,
thing about, like, I try to make things zero. That's another view of it. And by the way, those
yeah.
you see how, like, their panes, he can change those comics in and out, and those are pushed over in front. So literally, you push the center of any edge of that pane, like the wood, it
Mhm.
pops out. They're 24 inches deep. They hold a couple hundred comic books each drawer. That is.
That's cool. Look at this
That's it right there.
gorgeous
So
piece.
remember that piece
Gosh.
you saw? I said, what is that? That thing you
Yeah.
saw was was the
It
edges
was
on the
the
bottom.
Here it is. I see it.
And you can't really see it too well in here. But so first, I'll see the maple pieces in the center, the
Yeah.
art. So the client commissioned an artist who had worked on the Sandman comics to make those drawings, and then I etched those in
Wow.
those panels. And actually, you can sort of see it on the drawers on the bottom. There's Each one has a different sigil from Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
Kind of. Yeah, this one right here, you can kind of see some
Yeah.
of them. Yeah.
So each one of those is individually unique for that piece.
Wow. That's just
And that's an older version of the black. The Actually, that's the same one. So there's that one is in the guy's home. So that shield on the top of that's the HO
yeah.
Shield logo. It's done with an epoxy pour to make it look like metal.
Gotcha.
And actually,
Cool.
burnt on the back of it is it's signed by Nick Fury. As it was issued by it's a item issued by Shield, item number blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
signed by Nick Fury as if it had been issued to Nick Fury himself.
See, you
And
guys, I told you this was going to be so cool. I was talking about it last night on Carissa's show. I was like, he's not a comic book creator, but he creates nerdy furniture, and it's so freaking cool. I know. So that's why I was like, once we get here, we might be stuck here because all I want to do is look at this
so,
furniture.
so that is actually in Texas. That was
This one.
mailed. Yeah, that one I did for a client. It's a small board game table. There's a coffee
Yeah, I
table.
could tell.
So
That's so
it's
cool.
see that little drawer in the front?
Yeah, I
That
was gonna
actually
say, does it show more?
it
I might
might
have to go
later
to
on.
the game table
Yeah, so if you pull that
gallery.
out, that is actually for a
Yeah,
puzzle. So the whole thing comes out as a tray that she does a puzzle on, and then she can slide it back under there. So she can use it as a board game table and as a puzzle board.
cool.
Oh, and it's got a power unit somewhere on the side of there too. It's fully powered, USB cables, so they can
Yeah,
plug in stuff. They do a lot of. I think she does trivia or some sort of game on the TV that she had it set up for.
gotcha. That's
So I'm looking for
cool.
a picture that I can send you as well while we're talking. So
See,
that
these
right
are
there, at
gorgeous.
the bottom row are for CGC Comics. This guy's gentleman was down in Richmond. What he wanted was something that reminded him of the card catalogs in a library.
Yes, I was
Um,
gonna say that.
and the trick with this one, if you look at it, is if you see there's that small trim that goes around the drawers. So this was a floating design. So if you see, this thing
Yeah.
is about 4 inches off the ground, as you can tell. And so it's designed where the feet are set back just enough where from most angles you can't see that
Okay.
they're feet. So it looks like it's floating off the ground, and there's that floating edge going around the whole piece. That's 3/4 of an inch indentation that goes around the entire unit. Just give me that feel of like a cabinet within a cabinet, and all the edges are rounded. That piece right there is a red oak stained maple. I don't actually use stain. I use a pigmentation, so I use non-toxic materials as much as possible. Because one of the things I'm worried about when I build them also is the long-term thing of what we're storing in there. So
Oh,
each drawer is individually made with maple because maple itself has a very low what's called off gassing over the years, and I seal it with the natural shellac, which is made actually of beetle carcasses. So it's all natural, seal it up that way. That way, it's not going to have any sort of 30 years down from now, your comics have yellowed or something. So it's all done to
yeah.
prevent that. And the wood around it, all that sealed with a lacquer, which is the same stuff used for boats, to make sure it's fully waterproof. Now, mind you, I get this question all the time. It is not
Oh.
fireproof. It is made of wood. I get it all the time.
Like,
And
you
no,
want
I
something
cannot.
fireproof, we gotta build it out of metal, peeps.
Yeah, I do
And
not make
asbestos.
wood furniture that is impervious to fires. If I did, it would just be soaked in chemicals or be 1,000 pounds.
Or he's lying to you.
Or-
Someone's like, "Yeah, this piece of wood is impervious to fire."
yeah, I had one guy where
Lie.
we get through the whole design process, and he kept asking me that question. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do that for you. I'm not going to lie to you either and say it
Yeah.
secretly is fireproof, and nor am I going to make a guarantee that it is.
Oh, a Superman one. Look.
Oh, you're on the Superman one. Oh, yeah, so there you go. So this one is interesting too. So this one's Superman, obviously, but two things that are interesting. So on the top left, you see like little things popping out a little bit.
Right
Those are
here,
his
guys.
initials in those are his initials in Kryptonian, the owner of this. So I took the Kryptonian
Cool.
alphabet and made raised letters for it. And on the back, in a children's handwriting, it says Clark Kent, age 6, as if he uses laser vision to sign his name to
Sit down.
back of the cabinet. It's probably gonna come up in a later picture too.
Okay.
So they all
I
pop
was
up
like,
every while.
because you sent me that one, and I was like, "What is this?" And you were like, "We carved it in for the person," and I was like, "That's so cool."
Yeah,
What
that
is
piece right
this?
there is actually sitting in front of me. That's what I used to store for all my art books in for my comic book art books.
Oh,
So Melanie, my sister, had a huge collection of art posters, so that's what I store them all in.
that's cool. Well, for like 11 by 17s, that's cool.
Yeah,
You
so
love this
that's
design.
my
I
first
like it too.
prototype. That's one
I
of my
like
original
it.
prototypes. That's that cherry wood. So this is interesting. If you go
Oh,
back
look
real
at it.
fast,
Go
you
back.
go back to cherry one. So see in the front, the reason why I have this picture, but see this front, the
This?
little knot right there? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually not wood. So this thing had a natural hole in it from the wood, because wood is not uniform, and there was a hole in it when I preformed it. So I poured an epoxy into there to match the wood style.
He oils it with Beetlejuice?
Basically, yes,
Technically, yes.
that and
That's
beeswax.
funny. Good,
So if you like,
continue. So,
yeah, go
yes.
ahead.
So this was a hole?
That was a hole in the thing I replaced to make it look like wood again, but it's actually just an epoxy.
Wow,
So
I
most
can't
people,
tell.
yeah, because most people they think epoxy, they think plastic, and that's really
Yes.
what it is. But there are techniques you can do to make it look like wood, look like marble, look like metal, and that's what I was trying to demonstrate. There is like that is epoxy, and you can't see it.
No, you can't. That's
It's
incredible.
that particular one was about an inch by 2 inches of replaced wood
Hmm.
because she didn't want to lose it.
Right?
So
Because
this is that artwork I was talking about. So this
yeah.
piece was done in an Art Deco style from like the 30s. And you can see like all the angles that are on that. Look at the undercarriage of that middle shelf. And yeah, that space where that little cubby is because he had pewter Sandman, the Sandman figures as pewter figures. So that space was built specifically to hold those figurines.
Wow.
And I've always liked the undercarriage of that shelf in the middle there. You
Yeah.
see that? So, and it's a combination of maple and walnut. Those are actual woods, maple and walnut, not stained. That's pure. So that's why. So it changes from maple to wood back and forth. But like I said, it's not that none of that's stained. And I etched all those carvings there on the front for you.
Cool. Do you use like a You said a shellac, but on this one, you're using more of like a mineral oil or
So no, actually,
beeswax?
again, I still use a lacquer on these pieces.
But you lacquer
On
on
the
these
outdoor, I
too.
use lacquer just because it's the most durable thing out there these days. A lot of people like using polyurethane, but that's plastic, and plastic will have an off gassing for the next 20 years, no
What's the
matter how
difference?
long.
What is lacquer made of? It's beetles?
No,
Beetles?
no, that's shellac is beetles.
That's
Shellac is
shellac.
beetles. Lack is like
Sorry.
I forgot. Oh, I'm losing you.
No, I just said sorry. So I'm just laughing because I'm like shellac or lacquer, shellac
Yeah.
or lacquer.
Shellac. I'm not sure what lacquer is actually made of. I forgot. I've forgotten over the years, but shellac is definitely
Yeah.
beetles. My kids. The reason my kids keep bringing it up, it's beetle butts, as they call it. And
Mm,
but
beetle butt.
polyurethane, which is the most common finish, is actually just literally plastic.
Yeah.
And I don't like using it because the chemicals in that, just because of the fact I know it just from my point of view when I was building my sisters, I said to myself, these are precious things, right? And if it's precious and it's important to me, then I got to make sure it's not going to affect it. It's not a decision we're going to make today that's going to affect it 20 years from now, right? This
Yeah.
in each piece, by the way, is individually numbered with a medallion. So
Wow.
so I might have unit number 30 or 32. Those are all individually unit made pieces.
Wow.
So that piece that came from was actually 6 units stuck together.
This one?
That's yeah. So remember that you saw the bigger picture of that? It was actually
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
individual
It's big.
units. Yeah, that they could just attach or reattach from these bolts inside of it.
Cool.
And I ship around the country too. So this is that black cabinet, the black Batman cabinet that had
Yeah.
the Batmobile on top. So he decided to have an Arkham Batman logo, but inspired by the Flashpoint one. So that's actually 2 epoxy pours to get that marble look to it. But yeah, it looks like red marble with a black marble inlay on top of that. But yeah, if you see by
Cool.
that shine of this is from his apartment. So you can tell by
Yeah.
that shine on there that thing is black, and that's made from comic book ink, or commonly referred as India ink is actually how you order it. But the same type of ink they use in comic books.
Here's the
Yep.
one with the the metal look.
Yep,
That's
that's
cool.
the Agent of Shield one. You'll see a lot of repeats. Same one. It's better Superman logo. So there's one of those
Ooh.
Sandman. That's
Sandman.
those drawer fronts, the Sandman ones. Yeah. And those were drawn by some artist that he had hired for it. I'm not the artist, so
Gotcha.
he gives me the art. That's one of the early prototypes when I was still using boxes.
Gotcha.
Let's see
That's
what else
still
you got
cool.
here. Yep, showing the cabinet. So
Oh,
that's
here's
the inside of that coffee table.
Yeah. Nice.
Let's see what else you got here. That's my daughter's
Ooh.
manga collection.
That's cool.
That's actually up in her room. Back again. I'm trying because the gallery I haven't updated in about a year, so I just sent you some pictures as well.
You
But
did?
see, there's
Okay,
one of those
look at it.
there's one of those medallions on the back.
Do. Oh, look at this one, guys. Sorry.
That was released. I think that was July of last year. That one. So red marble on top, and then the 4 logos of his favorite superheroes.
Cool. With a nice box to put them all in.
So this one is he wanted a very sort of he had a piece.
Well, you don't see any hatch art because you need to buy a thing. Glenn.
So yeah,
He's like, I don't see any.
So if you see here, that's obviously Spider-Man, but on the front, it's all Spider-Man pieces like that, head pieces. On the back, it's all Venom.
All Venom? That's cool.
On the front, this gentleman collected vintage Risk cabinet, Risk boards.
Ooh.
So that's the Risk board game table.
Look
So
how
this
nice
is one of the bigger things I did last year. So a gentleman on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, I built out an entire. It's a total of 7 cabinets and this table in the center.
Wow.
So that is 7 different epoxy pours in that cabinet to get that look to it that you're seeing right there.
Yeah.
And what he does, it's the size of a table. He stores art books in it. I think you're going to see a later picture that gives you a perspective of it.
Yeah, I can see nice wide open cabinets.
Yep.
It's really nice. Like if you're doing a big piece traditionally and you need it to dry, put it down and let it. Did you say European? Who said you were European? I didn't say you were European. No, I didn't say that. Like, I mean, I'm probably closer to Mexican than you are European. Let's be honest. I am part Mexican, so it's good. Now, when you're cutting out these designs, do you use I like a laser.
No, so
He's like, my bad. A laser
So-
engraver, or are you using
so
a
it
router?
depends on what I'm doing. So I'm just bringing up
Yeah.
another picture for you. So like all these colored things you're seeing here, the Marvel logos, the DC, the big pieces, I use a CNC. I program a CNC to route it out for me, and then I have to go and hand smooth it and take
Gotcha.
a chisel to it to make it all just right, because it only gets like 99% of the way there.
Okay.
Now the smaller logos you see, those black ones that are burned in, that's done by a laser.
Okay.
So it depends on how fine of a detail we're looking for and how big of a picture. Typically, less detail, I want to go in epoxy if possible, because it's more durable. I think it looks good. But like a laser, it's smaller and higher details, typically what you're trying to do for that.
And are you sending these in as like this piece of wood, like this rectangle,
So yeah,
and
so
then
it
piecing them
depends.
together later?
So it depends. So like this piece, yes. So each panel, each section there, each logo you see
Yeah.
is a separate piece,
Yeah.
which I carved, took care of, and then I put it all together at the final moment.
Gotcha.
That and then smooth it all out at that point as well. But that way, if a mistake had happened, which does happen on occasion, I don't ruin the whole board.
Can you imagine?
Oh,
Whoa.
I've had that happen where we're down to the final bits and it looks fantastic, and then one little thing is wrong, like, or the CNC machine decides, nah, I don't want to do what I'm programmed to do, and just jumps, and it'll ruin the whole board. I got to rebuild that entire setup.
Oh my gosh.
It happens. It's not
I'd be
that
so
often,
mad.
but it does happen. So
Yeah, look at that. Gorgeous.
So yeah, that is the final room. So that's just a couple of the cabinets that are in there. I'm gonna see if I can get you
Yeah.
some other pictures from other angles. Um, so this gentleman, he lives close enough where I could take my daughter out. He's like a few hours from me, so I made a road trip out there to oversee the install of all these cabinets. Those
That's
are seven
awesome.
seven individual cabinets.
Did I freeze or
42
did you?
drawers total.
Wait, I think you froze.
24
I
inches
heard.
deep.
I heard. Wait, because you
I
froze
froze?
for a second.
Am I
I
here?
heard there was 7 cabinets, and then
Oh, so this set up with 7 individual cabinets, each with 6 drawers. One was actually smaller, but it's 42 individual drawers, about 24 inches deep. So it's thousands of comics.
wow.
And I got a chance to oversee the installation for this one. But yeah, his place is practically a museum. It really is.
It looks like it.
It
Gosh.
is stunning. I brought my daughter out to it just because I sent you a few more pictures of that one spot. Just because it's stunning. It's climate controlled. All the pieces on the wall, I had nothing to do with the pieces on the wall, just be very frank. But those are all actual individual production pieces for layouts. So Stan Lee has written on a couple of them.
Is this Glenn's house? Glenn, is this your house?
No, it's not Glenn. I don't know Glenn.
Glenn Fleming. Well, he's in the UK. So probably not. But like he was no, he wasn't with Stanley. He knew Jack Kirby.
Oh.
And so like he did a whole documentary about Jack Kirby too. So I'm like, this looks like what I would picture Glenn's house looking like, is this, with the framed art on the wall, all hand drawn. Gosh.
Yeah, I've sent you a couple more pictures of this guy's
Spotlight.
space, but yeah, it's stunning. I ship around the country. I ship by freight, or if you live within a 1 mile circle of me, I'll deliver it myself if you want. Then if you want to fly me out to wherever you are, I'll gladly be there when the install happens too.
What happened to his baseboards?
Oh, they're
Like, I
removed.
looked at-
No, they're removed while I was doing the install. They're going to go in after the fact.
Okay. I was like, what the? See, I told you this is Glenn's house too. This is exactly, except the art is his.
That's funny.
That's funny.
But no,
Yeah,
this
this
pretty
is
much what
gorgeous. If I had a basement,
well, you haven't seen a picture. I have a nightstand that has 4 drawers in it for comics. So my current reading is all this one nightstand by my bed.
these are beautiful. I kind of want one.
So different sizes. You can and by the way, so these are all displays, but you can see under that printer in the back, the left of the printer, that column are
This
CGC
one?
comics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are CGC or graded comics. So you can do
bigger,
it with
yeah.
graded comics and up, but you can also see that flat panel under under all the tabletops.
Yeah, these drawers.
Those are drawers. They pop open, and he has it. It's a 24 by 36 inch drawer for art books.
Okay. The ones that don't fit on this table go in there?
Or ones he doesn't need access to.
He's like, you may not look. Do these lock somehow, or how do these?
Those don't lock. He didn't need locks because the whole facility locks down. The
Oh.
security in that room is very tight. I was probably on 2 or 3 cameras while I was working on there the entire time. You can hear them moving.
That's funny. I imagine that he has those like laser grid like that turns on at night, and you have to like,
do bending around. Yeah. His wife had to give him access to like the whole wing. Like when they just bought this house, and she said, this whole wing is yours for your comic book collection. So
Wow.
it's actually all behind like a hidden pair of doors behind like a bookcase. You got to like go through. It's insane.
Awesome.
It's fantastic. I love
I
it.
just want to have a secret door that goes somewhere because I think that's cool. Right? What? You sent me more pictures?
Oh, yeah, I think you were just looking at them just now.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
With your feed. So yeah, that's basically what that's probably 80% of what I do is that as well. So
that's awesome. And I mean, like, where do you keep all your tools? Is it at your house? Like
it's
in
at my
your
house.
garage?
I work out of my garage.
Yeah.
So weather like now, it's really cold. It's kind of hard to work because chemicals don't necessarily work in the cold.
Yeah.
But I work out of my garage. It's just me. Run the whole business. I've got a wait list of about 7, 8, 9, 10 months, depending. Yeah.
That's the life, man. That's I mean, I don't know. I'm a kind of I get my fill of people, doing podcasts and stuff, and then after that I'm like, I just want to disappear into my hobby, my crafts. Like I want to bind books and I want to bake bread, and I just, I made juice this morning. It was pleasant because there was nobody around.
Yeah, for me, really, what I enjoy is talking to people about sort of what they envision, because everyone's got a different idea. Like some might have a desk idea or a cabinet idea or different solutions, and I always tell people that this is not a storage solution. It's a solution for your storage, but don't think of it as a storage solution. This is not IKEA. It's not cheap. I'm very frank, people. It's really a piece of art. So the more I get from you, the more creative I can get with it. Because like I said, I put those little touches, like the idea of Clark Kent signing his name on the back. That was not that guy's idea. I was just building a cabinet, and I was like, you know what? Let's put his initials in Kryptonian on this thing. Let's put Clark Kent signing the back of it. Just because I have one where I'm working on for a gentleman. He collects vintage Star Wars figures, and I burned on the back of it where he'll never see it unless he has it exposed, like the Rebel logo and the Death Star on the back of another one. Sorry, the Empire symbol on the back of another one. And but we put into it like bronze coins or brass coins inlaid into it with all the various logos or symbols from the Star Wars universe, because they can also burn brass and bronze as well. And it's made out of like wengi and mahogany, and it's a beautiful piece.
This is why you needed to do like the movies and be the cinemaphile that you are in order to make the nerd furniture, because you're tapped into all of those fandoms where kind of like these little touches would mean something to the people in those fandoms. If someone wasn't and they're just, carpenter, but they're not the super nerds that we are, it would just be a piece of furniture with no life. It would be IKEA. Mm-hmm. Even if it was handmade, it'd be beautiful. It'd be better quality, but it wouldn't be Clark Kent signed his name into this. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be that. And so I love that about these. I can see the passion behind it. When I bind books, I feel that way as well, where I'm like, I want to read the book. I want to understand the book before I take it apart and put it back together, because I want it to reflect the story inside. So I feel like that's what you're doing, is that you're building a piece of furniture to reflect the fandom of the person that's getting it. And that is so cool.
Exactly. Because I look at, like I said, goes back to my sister. Like I look at it as it's something, it's holding a treasure of somebody's, like something that's important. Because most I'm not talking about the speculators of the world. People who actually collect books and read them as a hobby. There's a reason they have those books. There's millions of books on the market. Yeah. But why did they pick those 1,000? Like, why are those important? Why do you follow Amazing Spider-Man, but not Spectacular Spider-Man? Like, there's a reason. Like, why do you follow those? And like for me, I've been a Batman fan for years, but it's because of, I grew up on Adam West and I grew up on the animated series. But I'm not a Superman fan, right? I'm not that I hate him. He's a fine enough character, but no, so I have to make the cabinet adhere to sort of or the piece of furniture doesn't have to be a cabinet, what is important to them. Like right now, the table I'm working on is a board game table, but the gentleman plays Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
Right. So I threw myself into the lore of Warhammer 40K, so I could figure out something I can hide on that cabinet. That's good. If he ever finds it, will be huge to him.
That's funny. And I love that where you're like, you don't even tell them. You're just like, here's this thing. You know what I mean? And then like a year later, they'll be like, hey.
Like that table you showed before, they're really big board game people. I don't know if you saw, but the end pieces were meeples, which are like the standard pieces for board games. Or like the end caps for the legs. Never told them about it. So if you go back that board game
Which
table,
one?
the first board game had the big one, the Ethan Allen one you were looking at.
Let me go back. The Ethan Allen one. Yes.
Well, actually, that's what the gentleman said about the Spider-Man cabinet. He wanted to be very Ethan Allen.
Custom pieces.
Yeah, you look under custom pieces for board game tables. I think that's the one I showcased for it.
Did I see the meeples?
I think you
I don't
missed
know. It's kind of hard to
They're
see.
hidden
Let me
away.
go.
Yeah, bring it up and I'll point it out to you. So scroll up, go to get into the custom board games. Go to more information on board game tables. So scroll down, hit more information.
By the way, hello, Sarah. Sarah S. Welcome to the show.
And
Thank you.
You want to scroll down a little bit. I think you can see it from right there on the leg.
This?
See the leg where the crossbar comes and attaches to it on the middle picture. See that right there. Like move the mouse over to it. I'll point out to you.
Here we go. I was going to say my mouse is
right
there.
That's
this
a meeple.
one. What
That
is a
end cap?
meeple?
It's a meeple. It's a game piece for like a lot of board games. They look like people, but their end caps, their board game tables are meeples. They had no idea when I installed it until they noticed it one day.
Meeple. I've never heard that term.
If you like board games, you'll it's all over the place.
Gosh, let me see. There's so many good things. We went through most of the comic book tables. Let's go look at the board game tables. Is there more?
No, I don't think there's too many pictures on there of those.
Sadness. I just want to look at all the pictures.
I'm working on one now, so there'll be. I have been remiss that because I'm so focused on the show and focused on just getting things out of my pipeline that I have not really posted much in the past year. So I've got a ton of photos I need to share when it comes to stuff. So it's just because I was just overwhelmed with the amount of work because I ran an ad for like 6 weeks and my inbox got exploded. So I stopped the ads. I don't do ads anymore. Essentially, it's now word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Yeah.
So people come to me and they find me because I don't try to. I just don't have the bandwidth. Actually, if you see the table, if you scroll up again, scroll all the way to the top. See that table there? You see that thing on the table?
This one?
Yeah, see the table.
There's a meeple there too.
There's a meeple, and that meeple is removable. But what's inside is a magnet, and you put that on top of the panels, and it pulls the panels out.
Cool.
So the center panel there that covers out the well has a magnet inside of it, and that's how you take the panels off is through magnets.
Cool.
So don't lose the meeple.
Don't lose your meeples, people. Yep. By the way, while we're looking at things, I just wanted to show off. This is Movie Smash.
Today's your episode.
Movie-smash.com. I'll put it in the chat. We'll get you to the podcast that we talked about. Smash. I'm spelling it wrong. I cannot type. Still need more coffee. Yeah, I know. Seriously, Sarah, it's such a cool talent. It's like taking your nerddom and making a business out of it. It's so awesome. And just incredible talent to do that. I don't know if any of you have tried woodworking. I have. It's incredibly difficult because you need to be precise. And like if things are just slightly off kilter, the whole thing looks like a pile of crap.
Looks like it's from Homer Simpson and The Simpsons.
Yeah. That's like Laurie Calcaterra skill level of making furniture. But yeah, here's the moviesmash.com. I don't know why I took that down here, but this is the episode that we did. Atomic Blonde was a blast. You can find them on all sorts of Apple Podcasts, platform. Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of that good stuff. So
yeah, you name it, it's on there. I just couldn't list them all. I think you go to the main page, shows a bunch, but still.
Yeah, look at that.
I keep finding new ones.
Yeah, and you're like, and this one. Here's Fergal with his picture.
And he gave me that picture. He chose that as the picture.
I was like, did you do this, Chris? It's like, no, he did it to himself.
Yeah, he did it to himself. He chose. He said that it's from his old comic book store, Gotham Knight Comics too. You can see that in the background. But he chose that picture for himself.
That's hilarious. I was at this store. This is the one I was at in Livonia. He set up a table. I did a book signing while I was there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I know he's trying to build the next store of Gotham Knight Returns. So
yeah, super cool. Well, when he gets that one set up, I'll go do that one too.
Nice.
But this is So many good. Okay, so here's the new one, The Punisher. Bloodshot. This is with Kevin Davis, who's amazing.
James Dean is a horror movie director.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Rick would pick that. Victory. Makes me laugh. I was just talking about that movie too, where I was laughing just in the beginning when the girlfriend shows up and like Scott Pilgrim goes out the window and his roommate's like, "Oh, you just missed him."
Well, it's funny is that episode, Jeremy talks about how it mirrors his life a little too much.
Oh,
yeah. If you want a good laugh, it was Jeremy in his 20s. I've known Jeremy since freshman year of high school, so we go way back, and it mirrors his 20s, and which is hilarious about it. He actually because he's in a band himself.
Deese is a great guy. Deese, I want to listen to that one too, just because he is so funny. He's a stand-up comedian by trade. You know what I mean? That's what he does. So
yeah, he chose Daredevil because he hates it.
He hates it. Well, I mean, it is Daredevil 2003. I mean,
yeah.
What are we liking that? No one liked that movie.
No, Ben Affleck,
no.
Then you got Christian
Ghost
Douglas
in the Shell with Christian. Here's Old Guard. Cool. Alita Battle Angel. I think I picked. Did I pick that one on my list? I think I picked that. V for Vendetta. There was a couple of them that I picked. I was like, man, there's no zombie movies though. I was looking for a zombie movie.
we have a couple vampire movies on there.
Boo.
I don't know if there's any zombie ones. I'd have to check.
Zombie for the zombie girl to come on and talk.
And when we talk about these movies, just so your listeners know, we don't look at it from nostalgia. We really try to look at it like, if you haven't seen this or it's been a long time, should you go out and watch this movie? Like, should you go find it? Like, Superman the movie is a good example. Like, one of these we talk about is like, if you love that movie, do not go back and watch it again. If it's been like a decade, it's been like more than 15 years since you've seen that movie and you say you love it, don't go watch it. Like, just let the member berry stick there in your mind.
Well, Glenn, oh man, he says this stuff is brilliant. Glenn took a while to type this apparently because he was talking about the woodworking. At school, it took me 4 years to complete a 6-week job, which was a stool in woodwork class. And in the end, they gave it to me for free. Hooray! They're probably like, take this away. Jeffrey Cotton got the good one. He got Blade.
He was our first guest ever on the show.
Really?
Yeah. So at that point in the show, we had been around for about a year, I think, and we were like, you know what, let's start bringing guests on. Let's see what we can do. And Jeffrey volunteered to be our first victim. And then from there, as you know, it's not every episode. It's sort of sporadic. We try to line up when people have projects coming out or, just timing wise, does it work?
Yeah. And then, of course, my bestie, Corissa. She was the second one. She finds every single show. I always tell people this too, because I do a lot of shows as well when I run a Kickstarter. And when she came on, I was like, do a podcast. So she ran with it. And she found like every single show you could be on. So when people come and ask me like, do you have a list? And I was like, the best thing you can do, go Google, like go to podcasts, go to YouTube and search for Corissa Grant. She's been on them all. I'm like, so don't ask me for my list, get the better list. Go find Corissa. I'm like, but all you have to do is search and she's been on them all. So I was like, oh, I'm going on Movie Smash. And she was like, I think I've been on there.
And you can see, our logo even changed from Blade to the Crow. That's when we actually changed our logo over as well. So that's how long ago this was. See?
The helicopter.
Oh, I agree. That is actually one of the highlights of that movie is the helicopter scene. I'm glad you said that. That's the one thing we pulled out saying that was a fantastic scene. The practical effects still hold up. It just only takes 45 minutes to get to that scene.
So sad. It's like, just fast forward. She says, it really is. I made a lap desk in shop class, my first experience with a scroll saw, and have been addicted to that machine ever since. It is addicting. When you get good at power tools, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, you would love to see my garage. It's got, I've got the table saw, the router. I've got the CNC, the laser. I've got, the miter saw. It's you are amazed by what I've stuck in my garage. I actually had a storage unit on my driveway for about 6 months because of how big a job was once. Neighbors hated it, but
yeah, they're like, can you get this out of here, man?
Well, the HOA finally came over and said, yeah, you can't I know it says temporary on the side of it, but it needs to be temporary.
You're like, so temporary is not 6 months? They're like,
Yeah.
a week, man.
Exactly.
I'm like, can I take it out for a day and put it back in it? Keep it for another week? Like, is that how that works?
So my daughter decorated it for Halloween.
That's hilarious.
And then eventually, then I got rid of it after that, but
Yeah.
after Thanksgiving. But yeah, like I said, if any of your listeners are creators as well, just let me know. It's on the website. There's actually a submission page for for yourself. You go to the guest page. Go to the guest page real fast.
The guest page?
Yes, it's at the top. It's home episodes guests. Just click guests.
Got it.
And those are all our recent guests or ones coming up. And basically, it's an order of the most recent person on the show. So
I'm not trying to zoom in. I'm trying to scroll. What is going on?
You scroll down, you'll see there you are.
Oh my God. I don't know why it does that.
That is wacky.
Just trying to scroll. Like it. That's all it will do. Okay.
On the bottom, there's a submission form. But yeah, so like let's say Laurie, you're on an episode again, you would be right at the top. It's the most recent episodes on top. I don't know why it's doing that. That's crazy.
Well, I need to go on some shows. So Sarah, I would love to come on your show. I want to come back on Movie Smash. I love talking about movies. It's always a blast. Oh, and Greg, I was right before Greg.
Yeah.
And after Deese. I had to go after Deese. Dang. He's too funny. He's too funny to go after Deese. Someone else needs to go after Deese next time.
We do have a couple more comedians lined up for later this year. So
okay. Well, I'll go before them if that's all right.
Before them.
We go after them. No, it's not as funny.
We have a lot of fun on the show. It's good fun. I mean, you were on the show, so you know it's not. Yeah. It's not a rigorous interview. We're not going to ask you about your project. Your job is to bring it up during the closing and during the opening and tying it in as you go along. But it's kind of like we're there. It's the vision I always try to tell people is like we're sitting at a diner. We've just watched this movie, and you're joining us for this outing. So, and that's really what it's all about. Now, friends talk about stuff. We talk about stuff we're working on. We talk about a variety of things, but most importantly, we're talking about the movie that we just saw, love it or hate it. And we have differing opinions. Like this most recent one that was up there, the one that's released today.
Yeah.
Fergal and Jeremy don't agree about the Punisher. And it's a nice back and forth about that. So you listen to it. So you start learning from us which type of movies we like and what we do not like in movies.
Yeah.
So you have an idea, like, Jeremy's not a big guy in origin movies, right? And so going into it, he's gonna have trouble with the Punisher since it's an origin movie. And Fergal loves every movie. So and our rating system, just so everyone's aware, our rating system makes no sense.
Yeah.
And from that as well, like we even warn our guests, like, do not be serious with it. It's a thumbs up, thumbs down, but nobody ever gives it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I forgot what you gave.
2 scissors together.
2 scissors together, yeah, because of Charlize Theron and the other actress.
They had a moment, yeah. So
and that's really. I think I'm the straight man for the show. Like, as I'm the one like, here are the facts. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And everyone else is Looney Tunes. Like that's the beauty of the show.
A blast.
But to give you an idea, for this most recent one, Jeremy did not give a funny response to his rating. That's how serious he took the movie.
Oh no, they were serious.
Yeah. But we did the 1966 Batman, and that was a blast. That's Matt Williams' episode that goes up in 2 weeks.
Cool.
And if you're a guest on the show, your info stays on our page forever. As in, like,
look, I can zoom in on it forever.
And the reason is because people don't necessarily listen to our show in order.
Yeah.
Because it's just about the movie. Like, if you like The Crow, go listen to The Crow and listen to how I make a comment that probably put a foot in my mouth about that movie. It's infamous. I still get messages from people who just listen to the episode saying, I can't believe you said that.
Whoops.
So, like Cemetery Man, Fergal references that one all the time because he probably needs therapy because of that movie.
Really?
Yeah. So
it's just that movie. Well, there's a ton of. Which one is that one? Who is on that one?
Oh, no one you know.
Okay.
It's if you scroll down to go find it, it has all the info on it.
Man.
James Babbitt, he was great. I met him at a Comic-Con, a Baltimore Comic-Con.
Rupert Everett's in this movie?
Mm-hmm. It's about that's about zombies, actually. That is about zombies. Well, they're called the returners. They're not called zombies. Like, the word zombie doesn't exist in it. I've completely forgot about that. So if you like
Don't
zombies,
follow
which I know you do, that's
Francisco
about zombies.
as he kills the dead a second time. They come back to life. Like, gosh dang it.
Yeah, he works in a cemetery, and his job is to wait there until they come out of the ground.
That's funny.
It's
Oh my gosh.
a very dark comedy and very Italian.
There's someone who has a comic like that. It's called, I think it's called Grave.
Well, it's based on the comic Dylan Dog.
Gotcha. No, there's someone that's producing one right now that's called like Grave. It's not Grave Digger. It's Grave something, where this girl, like, I think it's her father or her mother, passes down their shovel and she has to go babysit the cemetery for that reason. Like, weird stuff keeps happening and like people come out of their graves and she has to deal with all the nonsense.
Well,
I was like, play whack-a-mole at night? Is that what you do?
there's a scene in this movie where he's sitting there in his room watching TV, just shooting a gun out of his window as the zombies keep coming back to life because a bus died. There was a bus accident, so there's a lot of new bodies that
Yeah.
get put in the grave. So he knows 20 people are about to come back to life in the next 3 days.
Oh,
So he's
man.
watching TV, just waiting, and when they come up, he just starts taking pot shots.
He's just like, hold on a second. Okay, next.
He's actually on the phone with his buddy at the same time. So it is funny. It's like that kind of dark comedy. Actually, it's based on Dylan Dog, which was originally a light novel as well as a comic strip in Italy. So
Yeah.
the movie feels the same way. Like there are scenes that don't feel interconnected in there as well.
Weird.
But he definitely took it as a Fergal got, I think, emotionally scarred by that movie. The other one that got him was Old Boy. Fergal did not handle Old Boy well. The
Did
original
you guys?
one.
He didn't handle that one well.
No.
I mean, the twist in that one is effed up.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not going to ruin it for anyone, but by the way,
No.
we do talk spoilers in the show. We give you a warning, but we do talk spoilers because you can't have a good discussion without talking spoilers.
Yeah, no. Old Boy is one of those where it's like, okay, I don't know if I wanted to go there, but we did.
And the only movies we do are the ones that are currently outside the MCU, or were outside the MCU when they were produced. Kind of Elektra has kind of been brought back in, but essentially, if it's not part of the MCU, we talk about it just because those things have been talked to death.
Yeah, that's true. Kingsman is a good one.
That was a fun one.
The 300.
Constantine was a great one.
Gosh, same thing. Like love or hate that one. I feel like.
Oh yeah, and
I love it, but again, I never read any of the comics, so everybody's like, it's not true to Constantine. It's not true to the comic at all, and it's just like, is it? I don't know.
And we talked about that too. Like, it's not comic book accurate, the Constantine there, but it's a good film. Like, if you take that out of it, it's a good horror movie, like a cult movie.
Yeah, I don't know if they needed to just. I don't know. It's like they needed to tap into that audience. It's like World War Z, right? Because World War Z, they have a guy with the same name, and then like they start it, and then the rest of the movie is completely different from the book.
Yeah,
they want to tap in.
The problem with that one though is like the book is like a series of like mini stories, like an anthology. Like you could do it as a TV show.
That's what they needed to do. It would have been so much better.
Well, I think because remember when that movie came out, the theory is before streaming is huge. So TV, like now, a new IP comes out that can be done that way. You can go to streaming and make it work, like Apple TV or any of these things, like Netflix. But movie was always the solution when that movie came out, right? Like that's how you hit the high mark. TV was like, it's TV, it's a small screen. Who wants to do that? Now TV can go deeper. So we talk about that often on the show too. Like this should have been a TV show.
It should have been like they should have hung on to that one and done it when they could have done it right. But instead, they slapped the name of the book onto this movie with Brad Pitt. And it's like none of this happens in the book. I think maybe they captured 2% of what happens in the book in the movie.
Well, if you want an example of that, the movie Wanted. That movie is
that one too.
That one's interesting because
so different.
It's so different, and I also spend a lot of time watching documentaries behind the scenes, or if I can do it, I watch the commentary tracks, the movies before the show. And then Wanted, the writer and director only read the first comic book of that series, and that's it, because the other ones hadn't come out yet, and they didn't want to wait. So they got the a lot of, I don't know if any of you have to deal with movie rights. I've had to deal with a little bit, and typically movie right companies will try to get the rights from you quickly before the book becomes big, and they might pay you a couple $100 to have first right of refusal, and which happens, and it's part of the industry and how it works. And they did that with Wanted. So, but then they're like, this is going to be big. So let's make this movie. So they wrote the script before he finished.
Oh
And
my
you can
God.
really see it. The first opening scene is very similar to the first book, but then it is nothing like that book at all.
Yes.
And it feels more like there was a role playing game in the 90s called Mage. If anyone's familiar with it, it's like werewolf, mage, vampires. There was all these like different things for it, but it feels like it's more like the role playing game Mage slapped on with a comic book. So, and the guy come to find out like later, he had a big thing for that. He enjoyed that world. So I think it was his way to make this movie with an IP to get it in there. He was only famous
Again,
for,
it's like taking something else and slapping the name of something popular on it,
Yep.
and then trying to, pass it off. It just doesn't.
and,
V for Vendetta, yes. Comic form in the 80s too.
Yep.
The
We're
others
looking
are
forward to
like,
that movie. That movie's on our list.
yes.
We've got a
Hellboy,
couple-
the original Hellboy, yes.
Yes.
The Guillermo
That was
del
fun.
Toro one is that
Yeah,
first one. Like the first ones are always my favorite. Like the first Blade, the first Hellboy, the first Blade is just amazing. There wasn't any like the sword work that he did
Mhm.
in the opening scenes was incredible. It
And
was
you should
really
get-
good.
There's always an idiot trying to skate uphill.
That's correct. That's the best line.
It's a great line.
Levi, this makes me laugh. Yes, we should just go find the Corissa Grant list and make it your own. We're going to Corissa Grant our way through our Kickstarter. Yes.
I see when someone brought up how the Wanted comic was so much better. We try to make an effort to read the comic before going on there. And that one,
Yeah.
I had read the comic right before going on, and I was so angry. that had just
Yes.
nothing to do with it. Because at the point, you're like, why am I reading this comic? I know it's not this movie.
Yeah. It's hard.
Mystery Men, great one
Did
as
you-
well.
I hated this movie.
Oh, go back and watch. When was the last time you saw it, though?
Probably in 1999.
You were a different person in
Yeah,
1999.
this is true because I
Go back
watched
and-
it and I was like, who are all these dummies? I was like, I'm already not like, I'm not really into superheroes.
Mhm.
I'm more into like, where's the other one? The Watchmen.
Mhm.
The Watchmen is more like my speed, where people are people and they are flawed. You know what I mean? Superheroes are flawed. I don't care if they are Batman or, whoever, they have
Yep.
flaws. And then The Watchmen was a much more realistic take on if superheroes were real. But like watching the Mystery Men, I was like, he's got a bowling ball. It's
Well,
like,
that's
this is
the
dumb.
point. It's like if superheroes exist, you're gonna have some really stupid ones.
Some
like
stupid ones.
like Ben Stiller, his ability is he can get angry. He has no superpower. His power is he just gets angry. He reminds me of that friend you always have that's like, you don't want to see me when I'm mad. It's like, I've seen you mad. It's not that scary.
Yeah. And this is the bad Judge Dredd.
We had fun with that one. Yeah, it's the worst of the two. We haven't done the new one yet, but
Oh,
We
then
have-
you
we
have to do the new. I'll come back and do the new one. New one's great.
I
Love
love that movie. But Judge Dredd, we had an interesting on that, and we had some interesting feelings about Rob Schneider.
I forgot that he was in that.
There's a reason. He
Because
forgot he
he's
was in the
terrible.
movie.
Because he's terrible.
We had Ghost World, which was a comic, which I didn't know.
It's
a movie about teenage angst.
This episode follows film two best friends who struggle to adapt to their changing lives after high school. I have no recollection of this movie.
It's definitely a 90s teenage angst movie.
Great. I don't think I saw it.
I hadn't seen it either.
Oh, here's Old Boy.
Yep. And
I
Ryan
just don't
Estrada, he's a
remember.
comic book writer, but he actually lives in Korea in the same city that movie takes place. So he was giving us, and
Oh.
he's met the actors and the director at various cons. So he had a very interesting take on that movie.
That's amazing. And see, that's what you need is you like, if there's some kind of connection, let's talk about that for sure. I don't have any connections. I was like, well, I'm a girl and I kick ass. Can we do
Yeah.
Atomic Blunt? It's like, you talk about the martial arts that Charlize does such a good job with stunts in, I would say, all of her movies, going back far, all the way back to like Aeon Flux. She does great work.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I've got a friend who listens to all these things, and I always try getting his
Yeah.
feedback on it. And he said one of his favorite episodes was Atomic Blonde with that stunt lady.
Me.
Doesn't remember the
stunt
comic book
lady.
at all, but it's like the stunt lady. I'm
The
like,
stunt lady. That's
there's
all
more
right. You can know me for stunts. You can know me for bread, and you can know me for comics. Those are
Yeah.
the three things.
Yeah, you obviously have the trifecta all figured out.
The trifecta. Throw in bookbinding in there.
You know. But yeah, then we have the Punisher, which just came out today. Check it out. What's that? Sad Hulk music, nice.
Was that it? Right when he's walking down
Yeah,
the street
you
with
say
his
Shy
thumb
King.
out. Lou, I love you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please continue. The Punisher came out today.
Came out today. It's
Yeah, check it out,
fantastic.
guys.
You get to hear, if you listen, you can hear about how Jeremy and Fergal are on polar sides of this movie, and not just the movie,
Oh,
but polar sides on the various scenes in the movie, like which ones they
yeah.
love, which ones they hate, and you get to talk about hear Jeremy. You know, he has a lot of self-deprecating humor as well. So it's a great
Mhm.
episode. I think it's rated as one of our funnier ones. If you enjoy
Yeah.
comedy, just because anytime Fergal and Jeremy are getting mad at each other, it's always going to be a good episode. Mad in a fun way. We poke fun at each other. It's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah, exactly. Well, I forgot. Oh my gosh, John Travolta. That's right.
And
He's the bad
I,
guy.
what's funny, before watching this movie again, I actually, for whatever reason, in my head, I get it mixed up with Swordfish at the same time. So
Ah, does he
I
have the
actually
same
was
hair?
his same hair. He's just, it's the same character. I was actually typing up the show notes for it. I kept putting Halle Berry into the list of actors, and I'm
You're like,
like,
Halle
the
Berry's
guy's like,
in
she's not in this movie.
it's the other one. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Password Swordfish. That was a good one too. Ah, is that on your list? Hey, Grey Wolf.
what's that? Swordfish? Not
Yeah.
based on a comic. Can't be in the show.
Oh,
It's not on the list of 390.
poop.
Yeah, I think we've got coming up. The Suicide Squad from 2021 that's
Boo.
coming up. We've got I think V for Vendetta's on there, obviously,
V for Vendetta.
and
Yeah.
there's
Hey.
Lego Batman's on our list. That's coming
Lego
up.
Batman.
Oh, and someone is the Peanuts movie. That's on
What?
our list because it's based
I
on a comic
mean,
strip,
it's a comic strip. Yeah.
and the guy who picked it does comic strips. He's a comic strip writer for newspapers.
Interesting.
So he said it's the most in line with what I do. And that's gonna be interesting. I think it'll be the most child-friendly movie we've ever done.
So technically, you could do like Garfield too, right?
Garfield's on the list.
Oh.
We're not filming that or anything. It's on our. No one's picked it yet.
Yeah, it's just on the list. No one
It's
will
on the
pick it
list.
ever.
Well, you never know. Like by the time we're like 5 years into this, we'll be down to slim pickings.
You're like, you got 5 movies to pick from.
Well, and every year I add new movies to the list. Like I just
Yeah.
add recently a movie, a shark movie to the list got added this year. So I'm hoping someone picks that one out.
Shark movie.
Yeah, it's like something demon, like Black Demon or something like that. There's a couple new ones that came out, and like I said, a lot of times, like I Kill Giants. That's based on a comic book. That there are all these movies that come out, especially on Netflix, that you have no idea were based on a graphic novel or comic.
See, this makes me have hope that someday people can watch Path of the Pale Rider.
And
Someday.
that's the point of the show, really, is to highlight the fact that this genre of comics that are out there, a lot of people think it's a kid's thing or an older collector kind of thing, but it's like all the stories you watch and love on movies, a lot of them come from these graphic novels and
Yeah.
comics. So by having on writers and creators, you get to highlight your stories. But at the same time, we're highlighting the fact that this is where all this stuff comes from. That's where all these ideas come from. Now we do the traditional
Mhm.
ones too, because we got to feed the algorithm. We got to have people find us.
Yeah.
And weirdly, our most popular episode is the Ghost Rider episode, which I don't understand. It's got double the amount of
Really?
views than any other video, any other podcast that episode we have, which I don't understand. But it is what
I
it
wonder
is.
why.
And it's really big in Singapore,
Oh.
which I don't understand
Really?
either. But hey, each to
I
their
was
own.
like, ooh. No, I don't understand.
No, I can't figure that one out. But whatever the reason is, but like I said, it's so we got to feed the algorithm for that stuff. But generally speaking, the point is to highlight these stories
Mhm.
and then highlight these are newer story writers or creators.
Yeah. I always try to remind people like indie comics is where all the new ideas are. And it's like right now where the media is, they don't want to take any chances. They are only making stuff that has already has an audience.
Mhm.
So if you look at everything that's been coming out in 2000, well, at least 2024, we already have done this in some way, shape, or form, and it has an audience that comes with it. So there's no chance. That's what they're doing.
And that's what these big budget movies do. And that's one thing we talk about on the show too, is a lot of the movie industry is leading into these big budget movies. They want to have a big giant return. And you
Yeah.
can't risk $100 million on an unknown IP.
Right.
Now, but the thing is, we're highlighting these smaller movies too that had, like we did Batman 1966. Obviously, it's no well-known character. Not a budget of $1.3 million. It didn't have much money behind it.
Right.
And we talked about other movies that are like Atomic Blonde, not a big. No, The Coldest City was not a big comic. You picked it. You'd even know that was the name of the comic.
I had no idea.
And so there are really good stories out there. And what it takes is just someone to highlight it so that if it gets to the point where your book gets, you get the green light, if someone wants to buy the rights to it, not buy the rights, but first right of refusal, right? Or however you want to do it. And I know there's multiple ways to go down that movie path if anyone's got questions about it. But what it allows you to do is understand how you pitch the story idea as well, right? Because you see these movies that have success that were smaller budgets. And it really comes down to, can your movie idea come out with a smaller budget, or can it work within that? Because those ideas, I think, are the future for cinema, because these big budget ones are collapsing. Most of these $100 million movies are not making their money back, and Hollywood's getting scared, right? So the way you fix that problem is smaller, less risky solutions, which tend to be the smaller IPs, right? Because they're not going to pay. Hey, tell you, Laurie, they're not going to pay you $20 million to make your movie tomorrow, right?
No.
Now, if they come out and they decide to make your movie tomorrow and they go down that path and it starts building up an audience over the next 20 years, well, maybe when they make the rights for it in 20 years, maybe that's the budget for it. But early on, if they can make your movie for $20 million, the whole movie, everything, actors, special effects, everything, they would do it in a heartbeat, because $20 million is relatively nothing.
Gosh, I had Jesse Sosa on last week, and he works, he's in video game development, and he was talking about managing $1 million budget for some of these big video games like Borderlands and and I was like, I can't even wrap my head around how you build a budget like that. But same thing, it's like with movies, it's like $20 million is a small budget, and that blows my mind. You know what I mean? It's like, wow.
Look at the Punisher movie we just did. It's original. The producers asked for $66 million to make it, because that's how much you used to make a action movie in the early 2000s. $60 million. You're like, that's a massive budget. It's a big budget. They were only given $33 million, and they still made the Punisher as a movie, right? Because then they have to make hard decisions,
right?
On what they can. It doesn't mean they can't do it. They just have to figure out how to solve for it. In fact, a lot of times when they get these massive bloated budgets, they make a lot of mistakes because they don't have to make the hard decision anymore.
Or, they're not efficient with their time. They maybe would go for a bigger name than a smaller name, right? Attached to it, because they're hoping to bring in that audience, as opposed to, the lesser known but maybe really great actor who's hungry. I don't know.
Yeah, and also you got to find really sort of the producers. It really comes down to the producers, to be honest.
It does.
Of who is willing to stick out their neck for 20. If you go to a producer and say, "Hey, I got this idea. It's going to cost you $20 million." You're like, "Oh, that's okay. Let me hear you out." If you go, "This idea is $200 million, $500 million, whatever," they're going to be like, "Okay, you're not coming from one of the big studios, right? It's not going to work." Like if you say it's a $20 million idea, $10 million idea, it doesn't take much to get that money back. It takes remember. For those, not everyone's aware of this, but essentially, if a budget's $10 million, they've got to make $20 million to the box office to break even.
Yeah,
that's the way it works. So they got to see, like, and how many tickets is $20 million, right? Just do the math. That's what they got to sell it to. So smaller budgets means smaller bar of success. Smaller bar of success means success. That's all it means.
Streaming is different, though. They get a much lesser percentage, but is there just a bigger audience? Like,
that's a good question. So the indie film market tends to go with places like Tubi or what's it called? Fav Awesome. I can look it up for you.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, that's one of the newer ones. Between Tubi and them, they pay the most to the creators. But that's if you're going like an indie route. Typically horror goes that way. Horror is always being known to go the indie route. That's where direct to Netflix streaming was a lot. It was like a lot of horror movie. Horror tends to be cheaper. You think to yourself, oh, there's a monster, it's got to be expensive. No, they do a lot of practical effects. You notice they hide the monster a lot. It's always in the background. That's
Yeah.
for budgetary reasons, not because it's more suspenseful. It works.
I mean, it is more suspenseful too. Like, I feel like as soon as you show the monster, and especially if it's like CGI or it's bad makeup, you're like, well, I'm out of the story.
Yeah, well, I'm watching the
Go find the
Alien
monster.
movies. I'm watching the Aliens movies with my son, and we're going through all of them. And he's 15, and he's autistic, so it's interesting watching his take on these movies.
Oh, okay.
And the first one, you don't see the alien much, right?
Right.
It's scary. The third one, they show it in CGI, and he's like, "That looks terrible."
See?
Yeah. Then we
It's
go
all
back
the
to the fourth
shark
movie.
movies. It's all
Yeah.
the shark movies, all the
It's-
Jaws. Like
the
Jaws,
Jaws
the first
problem.
one was scary. It's because it was the anticipation of what's coming. And it's like as soon as you see the shark, it's like, oh, okay, it's a shark. And then after that, it's like Jaws 4. Nah, it's a shark.
Yeah. So, but back to the original thing about it. So, going the route of movie entertainment, yeah, streaming
Yeah.
does not pay well. Streaming,
Right.
but the thing is, the streaming budgets is a lot of these. They're sort of focusing. Apple's really in the sci-fi market. Netflix has been they're all over the map these days. They're trying to be
Yeah.
everything to everyone. Disney is still doing obviously their big tentpole movies. All the Marvel movies and all the
Marvel and Star Wars. And now
Yeah.
they're just, I really dislike how they're redoing all of the classic cartoons into live action. It's the same. Why are we redoing it? I don't know.
because they own the IP and it's easy to do.
Exactly.
And
But
that's
it's
and
like
that's rinse repeat.
and audience is already there, but it's like they lose people like me where I'm like, there's nothing you can do better to Beauty and the Beast that makes me want to see it in live action.
Well, you have to think of it this way. Like, okay, let's say I'm gonna use Beauty and the Beast as an example, right? If I can retain 70% of my audience to do the movie again for half the budget, I'm gonna do it.
See?
Right. And it's just a money decision.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I'm saying if you go sort of the smaller routes, like Tubi, James Dean, who's on our show a while ago,
Uh-huh.
he puts his movie, he produces, manages, directs all that stuff, his horror movies, and puts them up on Tubi. He puts them up on Favsur, and that's where they make all their money back. Plus, some
Huh.
has the biggest payout. And he was telling me that. I was just listening to an interview with a director who only puts his stuff on Tubi these days,
Interesting.
and it costs him nothing to put it up there, really.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think Tubi is, yeah, but you still got to come out of pocket to put your movie together, and it needs to be a polished product to put it
Oh.
on Tubi.
Well, that's why
I use polished loosely.
well, yeah, there are some stinkers on Tubi.
Yeah,
But
I was like, if you've been on Tubi, you know.
Yeah, that's the saying. So that's why I was going back to if you find producers who are willing to take a chance on a
Yes.
$10-20 million movie, that that tends to get them in the right direction.
Gosh, I wish
anyway,
I could
that's
find
a
someone
whole
that would
different
do that.
market.
I would love to see Path is animated,
Mhm.
but even that seems to be a big budget. I was looking at doing a commercial, 25 seconds with a 5-second card at the end, just the animation of our issue 1, which has the bear chase. 25 seconds of bear chase, $12,000. And I was like, there's no way I can pay for that.
Well, you should talk to Lauren's person. She doesn't pay anywhere near that for her trailers.
Gosh, I need to talk to Lauren's
Yeah,
person.
because she does trailers for her books. Now they're live action.
They're great though. I've seen them. Yeah.
I'm not going to say numbers on here, but it is nowhere near $12,000.
But I was thinking animation because a lot of the stuff that happens in my story is fantastical. You know what I mean? Like it's a
but
giant
maybe
undead bear.
Maybe it starts with live action, then it transforms to animation. So you only have it's because animation's expensive. You're right,
Yeah.
but it's how many seconds need to be animation to make it work.
Yeah. But
Right.
still, man, 25 seconds for $12,000. I was like, that sounds like it's out of my budget no matter how far I go.
You can definitely find cheaper than that.
5 seconds is $5,000. Like, I don't think so.
Like they can really get the message in those 5 seconds.
Yeah. I'm like, bear. Okay. That's it. That's all you get, people.
I want a bear in a ski mask.
Yeah. Roar, like it's me in a blow up suit. Like it's not scary at all. So buy some concessions. Yes.
I mean, one of the other hats I wear is I do developmental editing for scripts and books.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Oh my gosh. We
No
got
problem.
like 10 minutes. Go.
Oh, it's so small a part of what I do for life. But anyway, essentially what that is, are you familiar with that term, what developmental
No,
editors do?
explain that to everybody because
So
I
a
think
development-
I have an idea, but I'm not exactly clear. So
Sure. So it's a different kind of editing, and it's not like I check your grammar. You don't want me checking your grammar. It's really about analyzing the plot of a story, right?
yes.
And there's different ways it works. So I'll give you sort of different versions of it, and I do all these versions. So depends. One is where we're in the initial stage of you're building at your storyline, right?
Mhm.
So I sit down, it's almost like a coaching session for about an hour or so. And essentially you're just explaining the stories. I just ask you questions, right? And those questions are particular questions. And obviously
Yes.
sometimes you don't have the answer to those questions, but I'm telling you that I'm asking them because they need to be answered, right?
Yes.
And it's not like, oh,
So
what's
close
the
the
backstory of
loophole.
this? But it's more like, what's, here's this issue I'm seeing. What does this mean? What's your answer for this? And we just go through a bunch of questions. And it's not, the questions are not like, here's my piece of paper, I'm going to read through it. Literally, you're describing your story to me. And my job is to ask you the hard questions that you're probably overlooking at this stage. Now, not
Mhm.
everyone has a problem at that stage, but that initial stage is a problem for a lot of people because they get into the writing process and they hit a brick wall. And it's
Yep.
because they didn't answer those questions up front.
Yep.
So my
That
job
is
is help you answer
so
those
helpful.
initially. That's one version of developmental editing. The other part is you have done all the story writing. You've written the story,
Yeah.
and you just need someone to look at it and basically look at it from a story perspective, right? So I take it and I can respond to one of two ways. One is I can literally, one version I've done for people is literally I read it and I read through like a third of the book at first and sit down with you for a little while and ask you a bunch of questions
I
because
like that.
I'm seeing some problems, right? But you
Yeah.
might answer those problems at the end of the book, but I'm asking them now, so your audience is going to have that problem there.
Right.
And then a third of the book again, do it again. At the end of the book, my thoughts, right? And my
Mhm.
thoughts are not like your book is good, it's well written. That's not what I'm there to
No.
talk about. I'm there to talk about here are the story beats. Here's where you're missing the mark, or here's where you need to bring the tempo up a little bit, or the pacing is off, or the one this is from Lauren, who may or may not be still listening, but I did development here in her book. And one time I told her, you just need to nuke that chapter from space. It does
Yeah.
not need to be in this book. And she
You're
got
like,
very angry at me. And in fact, she even put it in the acknowledgments in her book. um,
she was like, to my husband, thanks a lot
yeah,
of all the
exactly.
stress that you put me through.
And the last one is for the person who really doesn't like the interactive discussion, right? Because not everyone can sit there and have someone grill you about your creativity, right? And it's
Yeah.
a judgment-free zone. I'm not saying you're a bad writer or you've got bad stories. We've all got stories. We've all got stories that should be told, right? But we're not all good storytellers, right?
Or sometimes we get lost.
Yeah.
It's
Like
like
some
you don't see the forest for the trees. You know what I mean? You're so hung up on this one chapter or this one part that is so essential that you forget all the other things that are going on in the story that lead up to, or need to happen after. You know what I mean? So I
yeah.
feel that way because I've gotten to a point like in my story where it's like I'm in the second arc, I'm 9 issues in, and it's like the last chapter that I'm trying to wrap up, and there's a fight scene. And I'm
Yeah.
stuck on this fight scene. I've been crafting it for, I don't know, months. And I take it all apart and I put it back together and I'm like, nope, it doesn't make sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like, I feel like someone like you could be like, okay, why are you caught up? And it doesn't matter because
Mhm.
this is what needs to happen after that. So it's like almost like I'm spending too much time on this one part, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and actually, in our interview with James Dean, he brings that up too. Like he's a horror movie writer, right? And a lot of these directors, and that's really what the story writer is. They're now the director, right? They're the writer of the book,
Yes.
especially in comics. They are the director of it all.
Yes.
Is they come if you came from a background of fighting, stage fighting, you're gonna love fighting in your books, right? So you're gonna get hung up
Mhm.
on that. It's got to be perfect,
Yep.
and you like to highlight that, right? Because you're like, this is the best part of the book, and it creates blinders about
Yep.
what you're trying to accomplish. And that's really what that interview process really is about, is to help you take the blinders off and say, you got it, don't worry about it, move on. Like in his world, it was like special effects guys tend to spend too much time looking at how cool was this effect that we pulled off. And you're like, you
Mhm.
don't need to be on screen for 10 minutes to show me that. It needs to be on screen for
No.
2 minutes. Let's move on.
Yeah. And
um
and that's what I learned starting comics. Cause again, I wrote it in screenplay.
mhm.
And I had these big elaborate fights and I put in the names of all the moves and my artist was like, pick 3 moves out of this fight. And I was like, what?
Yeah, because you have to
He
only
was
so many
like,
panels.
we got 3 panels to show off a fight. He's like, which moves do you want? I was like, God damn it. So again, that changes how you write things.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You need big movements because it's a static image. Move
Exactly.
on.
And for the third way is really like the person doesn't want to talk to me, just a written report, just saying essentially like, here's the issues I have. These are questions you need to answer. But since we're not talking, I can't get the feedback from you. So it's like very
Yeah.
surface. I don't like doing that method just because, I mean, I'll do it for people, but I find it very surface level because honestly, the first question is not the important one. It's the third question that's important, right? When I ask first, like, why is this fight scene so important? You've dedicated 16 pages to it. Like, why is it so important to you?
That's a
And you're
long
like,
ass fight scene.
I know. And you're like, oh, because I want these 12 moves in there, and you get to see the anguish on this person's face when this happens. Like, okay,
Nobody
what if
cares.
you had to cut one of those things? What would it be? This
Yeah.
one. Okay. Had to cut another one. What would it be? Like, is anything you're telling in the story going to happen? Going to affect the book 6 books from now?
Right.
Right. Is this just you and your ego with this fight?
Showing off moves. Right. Exactly. And
So-
that's what I learned. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly. I wrote these beautiful fight scenes. And then I was like, none of it's going to be in there. So it just changed fundamentally how I'm writing. But that's the problem with this one. It's like, oh, we could do this and then we could do that. And I'm like, I don't need it. So I take it all out.
Yeah.
And start over. Write this cool fight scene. What am
And
I
I do it-
doing? Take it all out.
Exactly. And I do it for novels, comics, screenplays, any
Hey.
of that kind of stuff. But really, it's
Dragon Ball Z. Exactly.
Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. They power up to level 9,000 for 6 episodes.
Like, why? He's still blonde? Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's right. They're still fighting.
Yeah, they ran out of the yellow ink. That was a different color. But it's understanding how that works. Because when you're in the story, sometimes you don't always see that the story is working, right? Or you're spending too much time on the backstory of the side character who has no long-term implication on your story whatsoever. Or things just don't make sense.
Yeah, we were talking
there he
about
is.
you. Were your ears burning? It was all good stuff, I promise.
But
You'll have to go back and watch the rest of the episode to find out why. I'm not telling you.
that's funny.
It's
But,
somewhere in there.
So in the nutshell, that's what developmental editing really is.
So how would people contact you to start that process?
If someone was curious about it, just info@offpanelcreations.com, and we can start talking about it. It really comes out, and I'll have a phone call with you to figure out exactly what are you looking for. Like what kind of input do you need? What kind of work do you need? Because everyone needs different scales, right?
Right.
Some people want, really in depth. Like my wife, Lauren, obviously, like I don't charge her or anything like that. So we spend a lot of time doing that process.
Can you imagine if you're like, here's my invoice? She'd be like, what the? She's like, yeah, you go ahead and pay it.
Exactly. So it gives you an idea, like what it's all about, and it's a two-way street kind of thing, right? Most of it is really, honestly, most of it is just coaching.
Yeah.
Which I used to do my previous in finance years ago. But
what's up?
What's up, Chris? Hey, I saw the thing. Yep.
Hey. That's funny. You showed up right at the end, so we can give you a shout out. It was perfect.
That way gets credit for being here. Without having to do the work.
Hey, gold star, Jeff. Jeffrey will be back on the show. I think it'll be his 3rd appearance. Amazing. That's one of my favorite things about having the podcast is that I build community on my way, and then we just you get to experience, the journey together. Where it's like I watch Joffrey produce comics and watch his journey, and like Avalon and the Zombie Bros and Corissa Grant, and we all grow together, and it's so cool to watch everybody keep going and then meet new people too.
Well, I think I was telling you offline, we help each other out. I mean, I was talking with another potential guest to be on our podcast, and he was going to be on the show, but the rest of his hosts weren't because they didn't think the idea of if you help another show or cross promote on another show, you're going to lose an audience. It's like, that's not the case.
What?
It's people listen to 7 or 8 or 9 different shows at a time. It's like,
yeah,
if they what you're doing is very different than what I'm doing, right?
Mhm.
And there's no reason our audiences can't talk to each other. Right.
Absolutely. I know people were digging your furniture, and I know people will be contacting you to get on your pod to talk about movies. I absolutely know. So it's like we all help each other out. Absolutely. And
I know Joffrey's actually he and I were just talking earlier this week about his second return to our show. He's got another project coming up.
I want to come back too. Me.
You are welcome to. We have a 1-year rule. That's it. You have to wait 1 year till you come back again. You got to share the wealth.
Has it been 1 year?
Not yet.
The wealth. Darn.
For Joffrey, it has been. He came on in February of last year. But
fine. I blame Fergal.
Fergal? Well, at this rate, you might be on more than Fergal is. I'm just kidding.
Ooh, and then his fighting words. I'm not going to tell him. It's fine. I just want to remind everybody of the cool stuff that Chris does before we end the show. You can sign up to come on Movie Smash. You can reach out. Look at all these amazing places that this podcast goes out. And there's the 3 gents. This is troublemaker number 1 right here in the middle. So
he's a comic historian.
Yes, it's super cool. And then make sure you go to offthepanelcreations.com, off panel creations, not there's no the, and go check out this beautiful nerdy furniture, man. It's so cool. All of this stuff is so cool.
And we're on
Oh,
Facebook,
yeah,
Instagram as well. So always
see,
check our stuff out there
Levi.
too.
See, he's added you to his Corissa list, which is the list of podcasts.
Hopefully this podcast you listen to, not just one you want to be on.
Oh no, these are great. You guys should definitely go listen to and subscribe because there's amazing stuff on here. And they're so funny. It's so funny. I wonder
And
what
some things we
Carissa
talk
did
about too, by the
differently.
way, is we talk about what could have been because we go through all the castings that didn't happen that were supposed to happen.
I like
And
those.
like talk about like, oh, this was supposed to be the main actor, or this was supposed to be, and we talk about like, do you want to see that movie? So we talk about sort of
Yeah.
our own alternate realities, our own multiverse of what movies could have been if a different casting call had been made, which was almost made. Like, and the joke
Mhm.
always, of course, is Sylvester Stallone was always an option for most of these movies.
Or Nicolas Cage.
Or Nicolas Cage, friend of the pod, Nicolas Cage. He is not. We've never met Nicolas Cage, but that is an ongoing joke in the show that he is friend of the pod, Nicolas Cage, because he keeps coming up on so many episodes. His name gets dropped for something.
You should just start tagging him and see if he
I
noticed it.
do.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Right?
just if you mention a show, he's gonna get tagged in it.
Yep, every time. Well, my friends,
Mhm.
that was a wonderful show. Thank you for joining us here in the comments, everybody. 2025, man, we're starting out strong. I'm really enjoying it. Please remember to go sign up for Path of the Pale Rider 1 through 6. I don't even know where I put it. This one here, right? Do. And then I didn't even do it right. I'm having a problem. I messed up the opening credits. You can tell Pops Van Zant isn't here and I get to push all the buttons. But yep, come sign up for this bad boy. We're launching on February 1st. Stuff's about to hit the fan. But you'll see. I don't want to say too much, of course. You'll have to come and see. But sign up for notification. There's a lot of really cool exclusives that are limited. So you got to get there early to get them. If you want that bottle of Jack's Revenge hot sauce that we're premiering, you got to show up early. I know people are gunning for it. So very cool. Thank you, Chris, again for coming on. Tell Lauren I say hi. If she's not, I don't think she's watching anymore. She got back to work.
Yeah, she's got a real job.
Yeah, so she got back to work. But she was wonderful. Please tell her I say hi.
Definitely.
And hopefully we'll be seeing you soon.
Definitely. And great for having me on the show. It was fun. If you ever want me again, let me know.
All right. 1 year. You have to wait 1 year.
1 year.
Nobody else does.
Can I be a hypocrite?
You're welcome back anytime.
Okay.
But people remember to be be excellent to each other and kiss your babies. And we will see you all next week. Join us. John Westhoff will be here. I don't know if you're familiar with John Westhoff. He's super cool and you should be here to see John Westhoff. And we'll catch you all next week. Bye.
Click on the tube and feel the vibe. Every show you crave right here live. Heroes and villains clash in the night. Madness Comic Network sets it right. Scroll through the list, find what you need. Epic battles and fast-paced speed. From capes to cosmic space delight. Tune in and watch your favorites ignite. On Facebook, share the thrill so grand. On X, the buzz across the land. Madness Comic Network all around. In every episode, joy is found. Uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Madness Comics sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens days. New uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens